Yeah, I hope she's able to join us. Lincoln had on the Canels or the Tennells. I think that's her
Okay.
last name. Who owned the grocery store, country grocery store.
Hmm.
So people have been talking about that. And then Kristen, she was in Avondale and they closed right before them. So when people say three businesses, that's I think they're talking about hers as well that have closed. So it'll be interesting. She had posted something on Facebook and I think she took it down. So that caught my attention. And so I just reached out to see if she wanted to come on and share a story. So that's it. And then hopefully we can have a conversation about these what is it, Damon? Democrat socialist? Are you a Democrat socialist? Is that how you identify?
Sure.
He said, sure, I'll go with that. What about progressive? Same thing,
Yeah,
basically.
kinda. People, when you identify as something, they find a way to vilify your terms. So, like, oh, the Democratic Socialist, but progressive. I don't know how you can vilify progressive, but the Democratic Socialists are having a moment right now.
Uh huh. They are okay. Well, hopefully we can get into that. I thought
And
we
yeah,
were up.
I love to get what the terminology is for what exactly is a democratic socialist.
Uh, that's the thing. It's subjective. But right
Yeah.
now, it's somebody who's pushing for Medicare for all, and and to stop spending our money on useless wars and to bring our money home. It's basically that. So if you can't call for Medicare for all, which most of them can't, then you're not a democratic socialist.
Yeah, I don't know what was wrong with progressive, but I'm with you. I mean, to me, Democrat, socialist, no, progressive is far more defensible just in terms of the semantics and the wordplay, which, people make something out of it. Hey, what's up, Darnell? He writes, good afternoon. What's up? Thanks for being here. We'll get started here in a little bit.
Yeah, because I hate the term socialist because I think even people who consider themselves democratic socialists are not socialists in the truest sense of the word and what that means economically. So just because you are for Medicare for all doesn't necessarily mean that you ascribe to every tenet of socialism. Because I bet if we broke down by technical definition what the political and economic ideology of socialists are, I guarantee you a lot of people who call themselves democratic socialists wouldn't agree with every point of that. That's why I
Yeah,
hate that's why I hate the
and they don't
label.
have to,
Because, huh?
but people don't have to though, right?
No, but this is what I'm saying. Like in the political space, that matters because that's what your opponents use to Damon's point. That's what your opponents use to villainize you. And once you have taken on that moniker of socialist, then that's what people are going to run with. See, y'all are the
Let them
thing
run.
that people, just because a lot of us are nuanced in the arguments and the technicalities of things and you're parsing and piecemealing things, the average person ain't doing that. The average person ain't doing that. More people listen to negative campaign ads and a simple message than all of the complex. That's one of the problems that the Democrats got. The Democrats' message is too damn complicated. Republicans keep it simple. Build that wall, deport immigrants. Democrats all over the place because you try to be so esoteric and have all of these different definitions. Man, you got to keep it simple for people.
Yeah, but look,
Simplicity wins elections.
I hear you. I think that's outdated though, because
Okay.
ever since 2024, Democrats have been overperforming.
Yeah, that's because Trump is
Yeah.
terrible.
Right.
it ain't because Democrats
Wait,
are
where
exceptional.
are they
It's because
overperforming at? Since 2024, they lost in 24.
Yeah, they
They
lost in
lost
20
everything.
24, but in most of those special elections, I mean, Democrats was even winning in traditional Republican strongholds that Trump won by double digits, right?
No, well,
All up
that was
until
the
this point.
Democratic Socialists. No,
Democratic Socialists,
those
Democrat,
were
either
progressives.
way,
Progressives.
whoever was, I'm just saying they got that
Would
D
the
in front of them and they've been overperforming. But
would the
I agree with you.
Palantir
I mean, hey, if people need to have it simple.
would
I
the
think it's
Graham
okay.
Pelletier guy be considered a democratic socialist?
Yeah, he was. He was. He was considered a progressive. Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, is an actual group.
Yeah.
And in the eastern states, Philly and New York, they have power, and the power really solidified with Zoran Mondani.
Mm-hmm.
We're in Ohio, we're next to Kentucky and all those other things. So here, the Democratic Socialists aren't as strong of a group, but their tenets are also carried by groups that are strong, like the Cincinnati Black United Front or many other progressive groups that have been working for equal rights for everybody in Cincinnati for the last 20, 30, 40 years. So the Democratic Socialism is a name, but the tenets of what they're talking about carries on through everybody. Black Panthers were probably Democratic Socialists.
He just explained it. It was real simple. It's not that hard. He just explained what it was and how you can connect it to, something that people have an idea about. Yeah. All that stuff that people love to see. People fall in love with like the imagery of the Black Panthers in leather with weapons in hands and don't even know what they did. A lot of what they did, what they're known for, is a lot of socialist programs that we all agree with, which is free lunches for kids. Like, who could ever have a problem with that? Making sure those kids have the highest quality food on a daily basis. Why would you ever argue against that? So that's what it stands for. I mean, it's got a long standard.
There's a difference between social programs and socialism. That's what I'm trying to say. What you just said. Who would have an issue with free lunches for kids, right? Yeah, okay. Most people would probably say that, but then it also comes down to a question of who's providing those free lunches. Where is it coming from? How is it being paid for?
The government.
Again, socialism is as much an economic system as it is a political philosophy. And again, that's what I hate about putting these labels on there, because most people don't understand what they are. When people say Marxist, fascist, I guarantee you, it would just be interesting to just do a man on the street and go around and ask people to give you what their definition of any of those terms are: Marxist, socialist, communism, fascist, all of that.
That's the problem.
And the average American could not tell you what those things are.
Right.
The problem is you even said Marxist and fascist and all those things in the same sentence. So that's how it's getting convoluted, because they'll call Zoran a communist when he's calling himself a socialist, right?
Right.
So you try to pull it, well, not you, but they try to pull it there to demonize it, because in reality, I guess the capitalists, right? The capitalists want to keep it how it is and keep the poor and the rich.
Yep. And that is the number one cardinal sin in the United States, is to attack capitalism. Right? That capitalism is as American as apple pie, right? In a lot of people's minds, and anything that runs counter to that, to your point, Damon, kind of all gets lumped in the same bucket, right? Whether it actually applies or not. If you have anything to say against capitalism, you're a communist, you're a Marxist, you're a socialist, don't matter. You can apply any of those labels to somebody who got something to say about capitalism, and to that point, they're automatically vilified.
You're right. There's a lot of uneducated people, and there's a lot of people that's falling prey to propaganda.
Yeah, and so I'm under the impression that the people should be capitalists, but the government should be socialists. Right. The people should be capitalists. Make as much money as you can. Pay your percentage. Pay your taxes. The government, with those taxes, should then be distributing them amongst the least of us, and those who need the help. But in my lifetime, we've been spending it on war and destruction, and the internet's not free yet.
Oh, and it's never going to be. That's over with.
It'll be free. It'll be free. I'll launch a satellite or two. It'll be free one day.
You'll launch a satellite or two. It'll be free one day. Okay, the capitalists, man, they ain't going for that. Free internet. It's not free now. It costs you money now. Darren Chamberlain writes, "Hi guys, who's on the panel today? No foil equals no heart and soul on the panel. Banality."
Banality. What's banality?
He's saying that basically it's going to be bland today and no original thoughts. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
is
you
that
for
what
that.
that means?
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so
Learn a
much.
new word today.
Nichelle writes, sadly, many people can identify three branches of government or how they function. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I read somewhere that, or maybe it was it was more than likely a video that sadly, that only about 6% of adults read for pleasure. So, I mean, we are where we are. People not reading, everything's on a video. People are losing the ability to critically think. People using AI, so now their brains is not doing the stuff it used to. And then, above that, you got people who are like, yes, they are ripe for the picking. And that's what's going down, period. And we can all see it 100%.
It's only going to get worse as the tech gets more advanced. I mean, and you see it first, you know, the advent of the internet, created a lot of situations where, you can Google something and that's a good thing. Nothing wrong with that. We all do it. But there's something about having to do the legwork and the footwork yourself to get the information. If it's too easy for you, it does. It sucks a lot of your creativity, a lot of your due diligence, and a lot of other things. And with AI coming up, where you just type in something and AI spit it back to you, people are going to use less and less brain power moving forward.
And at this point, AI is not 100%. It gets stuff wrong all the time. I'm like, you know what? I can't trust you.
Yeah, they gonna get it right though. Don't think just because these first iterations of AI are unreliable that they not gonna eventually hit that point where they get it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a scam in of itself. How is it that you could just take all of human knowledge and music and creativity, like people's personal creative works, and you get to put that in your business profile? You don't have to pay for it. And then you're going to charge us what comes back? Come on now. That's why all this talk about that Spend That, let's just jump straight into it. All that talk about this Spend That video, people got a problem with. India Arie, who should be somewhere working on her next album and not criticizing this young generation. People like Young Miami. I watched the video, Spin That. Okay. I didn't see anything that was anything different than what was out there when I was a kid. The same old stuff. They just keep remixing it. But there was an outrage online. People got really upset, and there was a little debate back and forth. Some black people were calling for this song to be boycotted. Spin That by Young Miami. And in the song, she's talking about basically, people will call it the glorification of fraud, the glorification of criminality. That's what they'll call it. A lot of people say that. That's what people said it. India Arie came out and said, basically, there's an impact on music. Music has an impact on you, blah, blah, blah. What is wrong with India? What is wrong with these old folks? Go somewhere and sit down, India Arie, and mind your own business and let this young sister go out here and make her money. It's legal money. She ain't doing nothing wrong. She's playing a role, right? All these people in here that's about to be hypocrites, I'm calling you out just from the start. From the start, stop it with your hypocrisy. If I can get it out, your hypocrisy. That'll be a blooper. Hypocrisy. But y'all hypocrites, and I can hear it already. Oh, the music is making our babies commit crimes. Please stop. Stop. Y'all jump in here. You want to talk about this, Terrence? Let's get into it. That's my stance.
A question for you, Nathan.
Older people need to mind their own damn business. Go work on your arthritis and go get some water. Go mind your business and let this young generation make their money the way they make their money. It's legal.
But my question, when you're talking about the generation of music that we had, was that type of music, the music like Spin That and WAP, played on the airwaves across the airwaves? Because you have to admit the airwaves, the music programming, so to speak, the 101.7s, the urban radio stations, they have certain programming directors that push a certain type of music. So in our lifetime, we didn't hear music like this growing up. I'm talking about when our impressionable lifetime, whenever you Nathan, go here with me, when you got your dual cassette recorder and Casey Kasem Top 40 comes on and you finding that song to record for your mixtape, we didn't have no music like Spend That on there. I was with my kids from Project 1099 and that song came on and they knew it word for word the first time I ever heard it, and it broke my heart because they knew that song, but they don't know how to put on a seatbelt. Come on. What they're doing is they're engineering this next generation, and they did it to us with the music of how we treat women, how we glorify the drug culture in America, how we glorify for the thug culture in America, how they turned all that to in the black community. Now we going to boosting and scamming, and that's going to be the end all, here all, be all of what the black culture is about. Horribles. I mean, I get it. They're pushing a narrative that they want to have out there to our next generation, and cool, but they don't have to. We don't have to sit back silently and watch them do it. I completely agree with India Arie. Use your platform to speak out on this if you don't like it.
Oh my God, y'all just need to stop it.
Well, we asked for parents.
People.
We asked for parents to parent. India Arie should be a parent, and she shouldn't be saying, "Oh, this is cool." She should be saying, "Okay, well, there's something a little bit off about this." Young Miami made a song, and most of the songs that we hear that we disagree with are made for the strip club. They're made for the cultures that frequent these strip clubs and that spend the money. The problem is that they overflow and they drip down onto our children, right? So we don't want our children. I saw somebody in here. The songs that I learned as a youth, I didn't even know what they meant. And then I got older, I was like, "Ooh, I was singing that when I was a child."
Mm-hmm.
Who was letting me sing that? I didn't even know that's what that was about when I was a child. But they drip down, and it also glorifies a drug, rape, gang, just fraudulent culture. And only in our community do I find that. Like Taylor Swift songs that they glorify relationships or breakups, or like I don't know, the Taylor Swift song that's gonna send a little kid out to steal his daddy's truck, or like can you name a song that's not in our community that glorifies just fraudulent activity and scamming old ladies out of their ATMs?
So I do think.
Yeah, it's called American culture.
So here's what I think. First of all, I think if you're concerned about kids, it's up to the parents to monitor what their kids listen to. It used to be the music. I remember when NWA and Public Enemy and some of the people came out in the 90s, which is the late 80s, early 90s, which you might look at as a point in time where hip hop, maybe rap music, took a little bit of a turn from the sort of having fun storytelling age of the Sugar Hill Gang and a lot of hip hop that we sort of grew up with, where it took on more of an edge in the late 80s and early 90s. But even then, they used to put warning labels on your music, parental advisory, explicit lyrics. It's like any form of art and entertainment expression. There are some things that are appropriate for adults because adults can listen to it and they know how to separate the entertainment value from the reality. And then there are some things that are not appropriate for young people because young people are impressionable and they don't have the ability to separate sometimes what they see and listen to in entertainment from the reality of things. I've always said that no matter what media you're talking about, particularly on younger audiences and even some older audiences, it's extremely impressionable. When I was coming up listening to Biggie and all of that, look, what they was rapping about and going about, that is what we were trying to live. Money, cars, clothes, and I'll just say women. He used a different word. But that was amongst me and the group of people that I associated with in culture. That's what we listened to. And that is what, in our young, impressionable minds, we was chasing after, right? Those things that the artist was rapping about. So So there is that element. Now, I also believe in creative and artistic expression. You know, one of the things that Young Miami talked about was this is what she grew. This was her life. This was what she grew up with, what she grew up singing. And many artists in their music reflect what their lives and what they see on the streets and whatnot. They reflect that in their artistry, right? NWA talked about that. They were rapping about not trying to glorify any particular things, but they was rapping about what they were seeing, what their life experiences were.
We get it.
So there's some value in that sort of artistic expression of putting things out there. People are going to take different views on whether or not telling about what's happening or telling about your life is glorifying it, right? That's going to be a subjective view of how that's looked upon. Look, India Arie's opinion is one out of many, and she's entitled to it. I think what she says is not going to set or, you know, lower the bar for any particular thing. It's her opinion. She doesn't make that type of music. She's on she's in a whole different stratosphere of the type of music that she produces, and this, without question, runs counter to the type of music that India Arie produces. So, you know, I couldn't imagine that she would agree with it.
Can I ask? Can nobody answer my question? The powers that be, the radio station program directors, we all know they exist. How are they passing this now? And what powers that be are making these program directors push songs like this now, than opposed to in the 90s and the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s? I mean, it was still in the 2000s. It's getting hot in here. You know, like Drop It Like It's Hot. There's provocative songs that have been out there that glorify all kinds of things. But this is calling it straight out. Scam. Where are my scammers at? Where are my husk? But they're promoting that on, and not even, I don't know, man. It's
how are they promoting?
Question.
How are they promoting?
Yeah, how are they promoting?
I'm saying the question is how putting the song out on the radio is promoting the track. You can't just put a song on the radio. There takes programming directors to put these songs out there. So
are you sure this song is on the radio?
Yeah, the song's in rotation. The
Yeah,
song's probably going
to
chart. It's edited, but come on, the still messaging is still in there. And how it might be edited on the radio. It might be edited on the radio, but how many kids have access to unedited versions? Honestly,
that's their mama's and daddy's fault. That's not our business. That's their mama and daddy.
And we can talk about it on a parenting level. Would I have a problem with my children listening to this song? Absolutely not. We'd probably bump it together.
Okay.
Me and my kids will probably bump it together because that's parenting. For me and my kids.
The word hypocrisy. I got it. I got to drink some water. My mouth was dry. That sounds hypocritical to me. Because on one hand, you're making this big deal. I'm making the argument that people making a big deal about nothing. You making an argument that somehow the radio is trying to infiltrate our kids' minds, but you would listen to it with your child. So what is your point?
I would use it as a teaching moment, as I did with the kids who were in Project 1099. When that song came on, I said, fellas, I'm going to give you some of the best advice I can ever give you. If you ever hear a woman talking to you like that, you run. If you don't, you are going to be into a world of hurt. And then I would go straight to the book, and I go to Proverbs, and I start teaching that way. I would use it as a teachable moment. And I would suggest that parents out there, if you want to take that approach on it, I'd let them listen to the whole song, jump it with them, and I would teach it a teachable moment.
I have serious doubts that that's going to work. I have serious doubts. But hey, what do I know? I don't know. All I know is that we always stop letting them use hip hop as a cudgel against the black community. They always trying to use hip hop against us. They always trying to get us to be mad about hip hop or feel embarrassed. It's music. It ain't no dip. All these people that's got a problem with this is talking about, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Okay. But if I ask you, a lot of people of a certain generation, what was like their top 5 movies, top 10 movies? I guarantee that a gangster film is going to be on there. And so if a gangster film is on one of your top all-time movies, please remove yourself from this conversation because you are a hypocrite. If you're going to talk, if you love gangster films, it's the same thing. Illegal behavior. So stop it. This is just culture. This is all. You're always going to have malt liquor culture. If you want to call it that, that's what it is. The bottom barrel. People like that. Just like people still drink malt liquor. You're gonna have people that are gonna consume the malt liquor of our culture. It's always gonna be like that. If you like champagne, drink champagne. If you like a little beer every once in a while, drink a beer. And if you want some malt liquor, get you some malt liquor. Same thing with your music. If you want to listen to gospel sometime, listen to gospel. If you want to listen to something inspirational, do that. But if you want to turn on Spend That and for a minute in your mind and in that moment have a little bit of fun, go right ahead and do it. And please letting people stop trying to embarrass Black people with Black culture. That's all it is. We want to embarrass you, get you to argue amongst ourselves about something we created. Stop it.
I thought we just said that the rap music is the culture. I thought we just got done saying that we rapping about what we live in, right? So if the number one song that's rapping about what we live in is talking about frauds and scams, then it must be you too, because that's the number one song in the Black community is frauds and scams, and we only
so if you watch The Godfather and you say, man, I really like The Godfather, does that mean that you are in favor of racketeering and criminal behavior? No, you just consuming it for a minute.
So here's where I think
consuming this for a minute though. This is the number one song of the country. When The Godfather came out and it was the number one mob movie of the summer, people were probably trying to organize crime. Like it has an effect.
Here's the difference too, Nathan, I think, to kind of get to maybe what I think Terrace was trying to say. And this is maybe a product of Hollywood culture. It may be a product of the music industry. I think what the difference between The Godfather and a lot of gangster movies or gangster rap or gangster TV shows that we get, there is a plethora of white media across all genres, right? That you see in plentiful supply, right? So it ain't just, they're not just pumping out Godfather movies ad nauseum or Godfather TV shows. You got Friends, you got Seinfeld, you got a whole bunch of other, and I'm just throwing out many examples within white artistic expression, whether that's in music, movies, TV shows, or whatever. There's just way more of that available for public consumption than there is Black products. And so you got to look at what Black movies get greenlit, right? What Black music gets greenlit by the industry compared to the plethora of offerings that are out there. There's just not that much. And I look at what gets on TV, what gets promoted, and is there the same diversity of artistic expression for Black artistry as there is for white artistry, right? Do we get
the right way to look at it? But okay.
I mean, what is the preponderance of Cosby Show like type shows compared to Power type shows? Power is on what, the 5th book of shows? They got Raising Kanan, Power, Force. They done 50 Cent done about 4 or 5.
But we're talking about music.
I'm just talking about Black artistic media and expression. Music is just one arm of that. And how much of positive quote unquote positive hip hop do we get compared to the Young Miamis that are being pushed out?
A whole lot of it out there.
Okay, well, it ain't number one,
but it's not pushed.
It don't have to be number one. It's still available to the public. If the public wants it, it can go find it. It's a whole bunch of. See, I've had this argument for years. There ain't no positive hit. It's a whole bunch of hip hop out there.
But it ain't getting to Terrace's point. It ain't hitting number one.
It don't have to hit number one. It doesn't have to hit number one. The whole point you were making is it's available.
That matters.
It doesn't matter because what's number one is
Nathan. You can't be. I know you being provocative and you the great protector of on the front lines of hip hop, but you gotta know the stuff that gets promoted, that gets record play, that is going to get wide distribution, and it's going to be more broadly disseminated than some dude pushing his music out. That's not relevant to the point, though.
You do this a lot, Kevin. You do this a lot, Kevin. You make up the points that you want to make. You take the conversation where you want it to go. We're talking about music. And in music, you got a whole bunch of all kinds of music on YouTube. All kinds. Conscious, it's still conscious hip hop, it's neo hip hop, all kind of different vibes. Whose fault is it that people don't know about it? Go look and search for it. It's out there. Now, who's number one? So what? It's a whole bunch of number ones. It's hot right now because it's Spend That summer. It's Spend That summer. So that's why it's hot. It's going to be hot all summer long. And if you don't like it, don't listen to it. And if you do like it, listen to it.
That's not the. I agree with you. If you don't like it, don't listen to it. But surely you have to see that what the industry and what the powers in media push out to the people is what resonates louder than other things. So I'm not arguing the point that there are a lot of positive artists out there, and I guess that's to Terrace's larger point. Is why aren't the industry power heads? Why aren't they pushing those people as hard as they pushing Spend That?
Because you're not in the industry, right? Stop it. Because you're not in the industry. You didn't go start a record industry or a record company to create the kind of music that you claim you want. That's why you're not getting it. And you're never going to get it. And you're never going to get it.
And I currently
you're never going to get it. You're never going to get it until you go make it.
So what you're saying is that the people in charge are pushing out the kind of music they want to push out, right?
That's obvious.
They created the label, so they pushing out what they. So
that's obvious.
Whoever created these labels obviously want this. To Terrace's point, they obviously want this type of messaging out there for the Black culture.
Where and they got the last label, 30 years.
They got the power.
Where y'all
so
been?
They're force feeding the Black people what they want them to have.
Welcome to America.
For the last 30 years.
Welcome to America. We've had this conversation for 30 years. Like Black people blew it. Like
so they pushing out a lot of garbage.
Generation blew it.
They pushing out a lot of garbage for the culture.
We already know that. They've been doing it my whole lifetime. Black people, the civil rights generation blew it. Because when civil rights was, when hip hop was taking off, rather than sitting around criticizing it, y'all should have invested in it and started labels to promote the type of folks that you wanted from the very beginning. Now, Black people did. Some people did try that later on, but instead of sitting back criticizing it, because the powers that be love to use ourselves against ourselves. And all this stuff about hip hop is just another example of that. Get them to argue among themselves. Meanwhile, we'll rob you blind. And you got the nerve to sit around talking about Spend That. She talking about scamming, and you're not paying attention. What's happening?
What? What's happening?
In the world right now? What's happening with our federal government? And you talking about a song while all this real scamming is going on? Because that's the game. Get us to argue among themselves. They're going to argue about the virtues of music. Meanwhile, the boys at the top getting paid and laughing at us because we talking about the wrong damn thing.
Oh, what are we supposed to be talking about?
We're supposed to be talking about the scammers.
Which ones? I've been talking about.
We should be talking about.
I don't want my son to think scamming is a viable option. I don't want my son to think scamming is a viable option. I don't want my son to think drug dealing is a viable option. And I'm gonna do everything I can, but I'm not. I know I'm not gonna be able to stop him from hearing the music. And then the music is flashy, and they making money. And I'm going to work every day. He like, well, I might as well see if I can scam.
Listen, I'm gonna make everybody mad today. Some people say religion is a scam.
So what? We're not. So what? We're not.
I'm just saying. But what I'm saying is,
didn't he just do what he accused me of doing, David?
Scamming is the part.
Didn't he just move the goalpost?
No,
that's why he was having trouble saying hypocrisy earlier.
I'm just bringing up a new facet to it. I'm not sure that really is consistent, but I'm just bringing up a new facet of the conversation. Y'all talking about, they talking about scamming. What world what country you live in? Where you been for the last 30, 40 years?
In Minnesota, especially Minnesota. In Minnesota, where them Somali, you talking about scamming. You want to talk about scamming? That's reparations in our days. You want to go there?
I love you for that, man. That's right. That's right. Minnesota. You're right.
Minnesota. That's their theme song. That should be Tim Walsh's theme song if he tries to run for another election song. That should be an election campaign song.
Scamming the government is one thing. Our people are scamming each other. They're not scamming another community or they're scamming each other. Do you know what the scams are? The scams are credit card fraud. The scams are getting people's bank accounts in and putting money in and wiping them out. Our people are scamming each other. They're not scamming the government. We probably could get behind that. we could probably figure out a Somali fraud type situation or how to scam Medicaid or something like that. Our people are scamming old women and each other. Like the Nigeria scams, you get the email like, I'm a Nigerian prince. Now that has trickled down into my community where they are on the web getting credit card and scamming each other and going to jail at high rates for these things.
That's
and
not
good as they
should.
should.
You ever heard of Bernie Madoff?
Lock them up.
You ever heard of Bernie Madoff? He scammed a whole lot of people that worked their whole life to get a little nest egg to retire. A whole lot of black folks got scammed too. So please stop it. I will not tolerate. We are not going to say that the only scammers out there are black people because of some song. We are not going to do that.
I'm not worried about black people though. I'm not worried about what everybody else is doing. I'm worried about my people thinking that it's okay to go scam and then get in that new wave.
Good
some
point.
People say that America is a scam.
Huh?
I said some people say that America itself is a scam.
It is a scam.
So how are we gonna lay this at the feet of black people? And this young sister is stripper culture. That song is perfectly in tune for the stripper culture. Basically, she's saying, "Listen, you just scamming.
You call Young Miami a young sister?
She's young to me, yeah, sister.
She's a YN." She's not a young sister. Young Miami is no. You could cuss on this show probably. Young Miami is a city girl. Young Miami was Ghislaine Maxwell to Puff Daddy.
Is there any proof of that?
Oh,
yes.
Come on.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
What do you mean? You don't even know where we're coming from?
She wasn't charged with anything. She wasn't charged with anything. So now look at it. We are so in vogue in trashing black women. What is wrong with y'all?
Oh my!
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed.
I got something for trashing black women because see, you got selective amnesia. I imagine if I got convicted of a felony, then you wouldn't care about my political takes anymore. But you love black women so much, you just be having them on. Talk about politics. I be confused as all get out.
Put a name on it. Put a name on it, sir.
I ain't got to put a name on it. It's easy. It's easy.
I'm not going to speculate. And if you ain't going to have the courage to put a name on it, I ain't gonna give it too much money.
I got convicted of a political felony. Would you care about my political takes?
Yeah.
Lies. I ain't even been convicted of a felony, and I know that's lies. So don't black woman me to death.
I think they would be welcome on this show. I really do.
Is that what you're trying to say?
I think that anybody's welcome on this show. I don't think we respect the person on this show.
Look, you got to be fair. I mean, Damon's made a couple solid points here that y'all just don't want to acknowledge because the reality is he's absolutely right. If he was convicted of a felony, his political points of view would not have any modicum of credibility pretty much anywhere. And it's a sad fact. It's a sad fact that we got a felon in the White House right now whose political points of view also shouldn't be. Because I stand consistent on that. Trump is a felon and his political points of view are ridiculous and shouldn't be considered by any serious-minded person. Yet, unfortunately, they are. The reality is that when you commit crimes, political or otherwise, there are consequences with that come with a loss of credibility. You don't just get to go out and do anything and then assume a mantle equal to people who don't have those issues. That's just not, y'all are just living in some kind of fantasy land reality where y'all trying to put that out there. So Damon has a solid point. The other solid point that he made, that is a point. I mean, he made a solid point. He just basically said that if he had a felony, his political points of view would be of less interest. And that's
everything I said. You'd be like, "Oh, you got to look up a felony." Same as Trump.
No. Don't you trying to clean up what he said, man? Damon was down in the gutter, and you just try to clean it up.
What's the second point, though, Kev? What's the second point, Kev?
His second point was the point about talking about black culture, and I hate this argument that we do. You know, my dad always used to say, whenever I used to try to talk about what my friends was doing in their house or whatever was going on, my dad would always say to me, I don't care what they doing. This is my house, and this is what we talking about what goes on here. And what I hate is when we start talking about Black culture, what we need to do to improve, what we need to purge, what we need to get rid of, it automatically goes to what white people or what some other people are doing. We ain't talking about that. We're talking about our house, our community, our people, and what we need to do. What other people outside of the house are doing is irrelevant to the conversation about what we're doing. Now, I get it in the broader sense that you're trying to say, hey, they're out there doing it too, so they shouldn't villainize Black people. I get that part of the argument, but that does not excuse the fact of us having needed conversations about what we need to talk about within the community. And I think that too often becomes a crutch for not having difficult conversations and really talking about the negative aspects that are a part of the culture that are not helping us.
Yeah.
And some of that stuff ain't gonna be popular to say. You know why? Because some people thrive on that negative part of the culture. And I think everybody knows that part of the reasons why you can't have certain things and go certain places and do certain things is because there's some very negative parts of the culture that need to be stood up against and purged.
You're right. And at the top of that list is not minding your own darn business. And that's exactly what India Arie and these other, older, queens of the industry, you got something to say, bottle it up and channel it into your creativity and go make something that might be on the #1 charts. Other than that, it just seems like it's hating to me. But
what
let's
about
move on.
What about the programming directors? And let's move on. But that's my final point. Yeah, it's telling hating to you, but not anybody can just go put songs on the radio. Right now, there's 500,000 songs are uploaded to streaming platforms, digital streaming platforms, every single day. There's less chance of you making it to that #1 spot now than ever in music history. So the chosen people that get chosen to put on that spot are there by programming directors. And above the programming directors, it's about who is calling the shots, who owns the radio station, who owns the record labels, who that's pushing this type of machine. So we can agree to. I think we all make great points.
APAC owns
it. APAC owns it. It must be Greg Landsman's fault then, right? It's his fault. Hey, you was coming for Tamaya. That was wrong. You're wrong for that, man. So to answer your question, because he asked me, I don't know. It might even make it more interesting. So if you wanted to come on Hot Mic, if you was convicted of a felony, if something was happening or something, yeah, sure, come on. Ain't no difference to me.
Happening. You just got them on just to hear what they got to say, like they political, like they not criminals, and don't address it, right? So ain't nothing actually happening.
Have you been on the panel with her?
In fairness, she has talked about it.
We've addressed it.
Nah, I haven't. I got booed off Friday.
I asked her, have you been on a panel with her yet?
No.
Okay, well, here's the challenge, and I'm looking forward to this. I'll set it up, and I'll let her know beforehand that you want to ask her some questions. If she's willing to, we could do it right. You can ask her anything you want to right on the air. Rather than asking me, ask her.
I don't have any questions for her. I know what's going on.
I thought you had some questions for her.
My question was for you. You always talk about the man in the White House with the felonies.
Yeah.
And then I brought up Miami and said she was Ghislaine Maxwell to Diddy, and you like, well, was she convicted? It's all type of people
convicted. I didn't know she was charged with anything.
It matters, right?
I mean, it
only matters to you when it matters to you.
What are you talking about, Damon? I mean, I'm a little confused here. I'm not following your logic, and it could just be me. It's probably me. You brought up Young Miami. Young Miami.
And Little Miami. She was Trump.
That's what you say. And that's a very serious charge because Ghislaine, hold on a second. That's a very serious, you may have the information. I'm going to learn something here. But that's a very serious charge. I mean, Ghislaine Maxwell is in federal prison because she was a co-conspirator with Jeffrey Epstein. Like she was setting up young women to be sexually assaulted. It was proven in court and she's in jail. You're saying that Young Miami, to my knowledge, she's never been charged with anything. Am I wrong about that? Did I miss something?
Right. And then you're saying that if so the charge means something, right? So I'm like, dang, you got all type of people with charges. You listening to their thing, and then every day you say Trump felony, Trump felony, Trump felony.
I think your point is falling apart. I think it's falling apart right in front of us. Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense.
So now Little Miami has to be charged when it's 1,000 pictures of her and Puff Daddy. When it's 1,000,
you have to. Yeah, in America, yeah, you just can't go off pictures, Damon. You have to actually provide evidence and charge people. They have to be convicted before we just say you're like Ghislaine Maxwell. Don't you see that's problematic?
No.
Do you think that's fair?
No. How many times do you think people had to say that Ghislaine Maxwell was Ghislaine Maxwell before she actually got charged? She was doing it for 30 years.
But there's a difference. There is a difference, Damon. There is a difference between suspicion and actual evidence, conviction of something. So just because I'm in a bunch of pictures with Diddy, yeah, considering what happened to Diddy now, it might make you look very conspicuous, but it doesn't mean that you actually did anything. Like actual charges and actual conviction says that you were doing something. So it's one thing to say just because I'm in a bunch of pictures with Diddy, I'm Ghislaine Maxwell. That's a leap, bro. That is unless you got some information that you know that don't nobody else know, that is a tremendous leap.
No. Puff Daddy wasn't with underage women, so it's not the same thing. It doesn't have to be.
Okay, so it's a bad comparison.
Understand the premise, right? It doesn't have to be trafficking young girls for you to understand the premise. It's not. It wasn't the same crime, but Young Miami isn't a role model.
Why isn't she?
Why
isn't this young sister? She's a young artist. She ain't never been out here doing nothing criminal. If she wants to create this fictitious world or talk about criminality, that's her First Amendment creative right. She's done nothing wrong.
We got to stop doing that, Damon. Her integrity is not intact. Her morality is not intact. She is not breaking a crime because they haven't made it a crime, but culturally, she is degrading our ears, our children, our mindsets. Culturally,
really? You really think that? You really think that?
I know
You're giving her a lot of credit. You're giving this woman a lot of credit and a lot of power. I don't think she has that much power, Damon, to be honest with you.
Here's what
you know what a hot girl summer is?
Yeah.
Is that a good thing?
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
What's wrong with a hot girl summer?
Nathan,
you got a problem with a hot girl summer?
Here's an analogy that might be kind of close to the point of what Damon is trying to make. And look, Young Miami is not the first Black person or person in general to produce content that might not necessarily be the greatest for the culture or the greatest reflection or representation of Black people, right? There are always these questions. And again, I'm keeping it not necessarily just strictly to music, but about the whole entertainment industry in general. So a lot of times there are these questions about Black people who take certain roles in movies. There used to be this conversation that if you take this certain role in this movie, this shucking and jiving, blackface type, coonery type role in Hollywood, that was looked down upon if you were a Black actor that took on that role. There were a lot of Black actors who was like, I'm not doing that role because I don't think it's good for the culture. I don't think it's a great representation of Black people. And so I'm going to pass on that role. But for every brother that passed on it, there was a brother or sister that was glad to come on and take on the coonery role. And you looked at them and you called them exactly that. I think the point Damon is trying to make is that a lot of this music that Black artists might be producing that is not a great reflection of Black people or the culture or messages that we want is the equivalent of taking on those coonery, buffoonery roles that are not good for the culture. So that's kind of what I hear a little bit, that there are some things that you can do for, you're gonna get money, you're gonna get paid, but is that what you want to represent for your people and your culture to put out there for that consumption versus more positive ways of getting it out there? Wait, I'll put it like this. Think about this. In the 80s, a bunch of rappers came together and they made a Stop the Violence album. What was it? Self-Destruction. And it was all about stopping violence in Black communities, stopping gang banging. The messages weren't about killing destroying
one song.
and going and whatever. It was generally anti-violence messaging. Now you hear a lot of violence messaging in the music. It's flipped. So there was a point where hip hop was very much about. Now you always had some of your beef and get at it, but it wasn't about robbing, killing, and stealing. It was always and
been out there.
even when they rapped about those things, it was messages against it.
There's
right? It was.
They
may have been talking about what they were seeing, but they were saying, "Don't go down this route." I don't think much of the music that deals on those subjects today are anti that versus glorifying that type of activity.
Depends on the artist and what kind of music you listen to. But I understand the points, all good points. Let's move on. So right now, I'm not sure if you guys have seen this, but it's saying that there's a bug, a virus that is going through the country. I was reading that there have been several cases here in Hamilton County in the Cincinnati area. So, if you're in Cincinnati, Hamilton County, this definitely affects you. And they're saying that the symptoms are like explosive diarrhea is what they're saying, stomach cramps. They're saying this stuff can last for weeks. And for some people, depending on your health, it can be really something serious. So, they're saying now that you got to make sure you're checking what you're washing. But then I started to read these articles that suggested that, you remember when Doge came in and the Republican agenda or administration, the Trump administration was cutting everything. Everything was cutting. We're going to save American taxpayers all this money, which never happened. Well, one of the things that got cut in the CDC was the monitoring program for this particular virus that now is going through the Midwest. And it just, there's been a lot of anti sort of like government sentiment for a long time. Government can do no wrong. Can do no right. The government is the problem. I don't know. It just seems to me when I see something like this, it just reminds me that, the federal government does have a role in kind of keeping us safe and, making sure our water and our food, are being monitored in the proper way. To me, this seems to be, if I'm blaming one person, squarely the guy at the top. This is 100% at Donald Trump's doorstep. Is his administration. He put his people in place. They follow his directives. I don't really see anybody saying a lot of this outside, outside of the internet. I see a lot of it on the internet, social media, kind of digital media and news platforms. But what's you guys? Am I wrong on that? Is that the wrong way to look at this? Who do you blame for this? Maybe it's not Trump. Maybe it's somebody else. Do these things just happen? And even if we had monitoring, it wouldn't make a difference. What do you think?
Well, I think from what we've seen, I definitely think you can put it at the top, and more specifically to the gentleman who's in charge of, Health and Human Services, which is RFK. Everybody knew when Trump put RFK in that position, it was going to be trouble, from everything from vaccines to stuff like this, right? Every area that Trump and his minions have gone into to where they've cut back, have resulted in deaths. I think there are some statistics that show when Doge cut all that money from U.S. aid, there are probably 700 to 800,000 deaths that are directly related with the funding cuts that came from, U.S. aid. Those are actual real lives and deaths that come as a result of money and program cuts that you think are not, significant things or that a waste of money for American dollars. People were just scared. What was it? Not even a month ago about Ebola, when the Ebola outbreaks was going out. There's no coincidence that as America has withdrawn funding and programming from some of these critical areas, pulled out of the World Health Organization and these other things, these outbreaks are not coincidental. Measles coming back, because fewer and fewer people are following vaccine recommendations and all of that stuff. You cannot separate these health outcomes from bad political policy that's not based in science, that's not based in compassion and good common sense. And that's who we have running the government right now. So absolutely, it starts at the top. It's not a coincidence that, you cut or take money away from programs or agencies designed to monitor something like this, and suddenly there's an explosion of it. That's not only a fool chalks that up to coincidence. right? It's a direct result of the actions that this administration has taken. And I think this is just the beginnings of it, because you still got 2 more years of the Trump administration, and everything that he's pulled back on now, you're not even really seeing the full effects of that. I mean, you're going to have to get about 5 years out from today before you
Yep.
see what the real impacts of these decisions are. So
Can I say something real quick, Kevin? To
yeah,
your
go
point
ahead.
where you're at right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the same thing, bro. Like from what I'm seeing, and I'm no expert, but just reading different bits of information that I deem to be credible. The damage is going to go into the next couple of administrations, and then what you're going to have is this cycle where, let's say, a Democrat wins in 2028, right? That administration is going to be in the media talking about everything the Trump administration did wrong. And Republicans are going to say, hey, when Trump did it about Biden, you say it's going to be a never ending circle of this stuff. And I think, to your point, the American people are going to bear the brunt of it. And it's not going to be the wealthy. It's not going to be the billionaires. They're going to be okay. It's going to be people that look like the working class across the board. Racially makes no difference. It's going to be working class people that's going to bear the brunt. And like you said, this was all foreseeable, unfortunately. It was very foreseeable. But we are where we are. We can just wish for the best. Who do you blame? What do you think about this, Terrace?
It's Trump. It's Trump. It's not rocket science. If he cut funding for a specific parasite that has rose his ugly head and causing people to have diarrhea, I mean, it's direct correlation. And then when you're on top, you got to take if it was Biden's administration that did it, it'd be him and his attorney or Secretary of Health. It'd be their fault. It's under their watch. It's their fault. And I've had some friends of mine and clients that had experienced this thing in 2 weeks.
Really?
One of my clients was a truck driver. He wasn't allowed to get out on the truck because he had to go to the bathroom so much. And he said it was impossible for him to go on his route. And then I had another guy that said it had him down for 2 weeks. So, I mean, I'm fortunate for that it happened, but like I don't think there's an argument that who's to blame. It's Trump and RFK.
Has anybody ever had food? I'm sorry, Damon, go ahead.
Yeah, I've had food poisoning. I got it from Subway, and that's probably where everybody is getting this from. They say it's packaged lettuce and things of that nature. Trump is to blame, and it's also the people that like the capitalism of it all, right? So Trump, they're not watching it anymore, and the FDA is lax. So now they're putting more stuff in the food. They aren't doing the things that they should be doing to protect the people because they can save a penny, they can save a nickel, and they can make money on it. It's scary because it's like there's a virus, but there's also everything else. As Trump dismantles these systems that we rely on to keep us safe, whether it's our air or our water or our grids, you're right, it is going to get bad. And hopefully in 2028, we get a president that doesn't look backwards and only moves forward. Hopefully we get a democratic socialist type president that will put in place and just fix the things. Things need to be fixed. But yeah, Trump and his administration, or with RFK and Elon Musk, they have definitely failed the people trying to enrich their own pockets.
Yeah, there was a guy named, I won't say his name, but he used to listen to the show. Sometimes he comes in here and we would go back and forth and I would share to him some of my concerns. And he was of a mind that, the federal government has no impact in his life. He used to tell me over and over again. And I'm like, dude, you work in a warehouse scenario. There's all kind of federal regulations that govern, what your employer can expose you to, and you benefit from that. And he's like, yeah, we just need to just tear it all down. I'm like, no, bro, we got too much regulation. And that's years and years of propaganda. Years and years of propaganda that the government is bloated and they're wasting your money. They weren't, those stories had an intent behind it. And that is to sow distrust so we could get to this moment where you can have people dismantle it. And then the various industries that stand to make money can rake in the dollars. And that's exactly what's happening. All that is just straight propaganda. Yeah, you're going to find with as big as the federal government is, yeah, you're going to have some bloat and some waste. I always felt like it was exaggerated for a political purpose. And it seems like right now it was.
Not just political, but for a capitalistic purpose. I mean, look, let's just face it. Regulation, forcing businesses to provide safety, to make sure that they're checking things, to run tests, to do environmental tests, all of that costs money, right? This is why everybody involved in economic development and things of that nature talk about the red tape that you have to go through with government. Because some of that red tape, while it does take a little bit longer to do business, a lot of that red tape is put in place to protect citizens, right? So that business can't just so you can get it out quick or maximize your profits, that you can skip over the steps that are necessary to protect residents and consumers. And so businesses always complain about how long it takes to get their idea to market or whatever, and how that costs them money. And so they're always pushing back at reducing regulation, reducing red tape. But every time you get rid of those checks and balances, you expose the resident, the taxpayer, the consumer a little bit more to the risks. And anytime you give a business or really anybody the option to do something, right? If you make something optional, like you can either do this or you cannot do it, most of the time people are going to opt not to do it, particularly if it's a hassle. So a lot of times regulations are put in place to have to force businesses and corporations to do the right thing. To your friend, what I would always say is the best government is invisible government, right? Government that operates so good and so efficiently that you don't even notice what they're doing for you. And I think a lot of people who say like, the government has no discernible impact in my life is because they don't realize all of the things that government is doing for them that's just invisible, because they're benefit from it. When you walk into a workplace and you have a safe environment, or they have to follow, environmental safety procedures or occupational hazard safety positions, right? Like you can walk into a safe workplace. That is the government working for you, whether you realize it or not. But most of us take it for granted because we walk into safe workplaces and it's like air. It's just there. We expect it. But that is government working invisibly in your favor. That's how good government is supposed to work. So good, so effective, doing what it does that you don't even notice it.
So make no mistake, the government wasn't working well before Trump, before I was born, or any of that. We have the worst food systems in the world. When you go out of the country and you eat the food and it tastes different and things of that nature, or if you saw the story from the soccer team from Norway, they shipped in 2,000, 4,000 pounds of food because the food didn't taste good. We have already been picked and prodded and experimented on. And now it is ramped up from the Project 2025 to everything that these, I just call them white people, that they want this deregulation of our system so that they can rape every aspect of it for the next 2 years, I guess, because hopefully we won't let it go on any longer than that. But the problem will be is that if we put a corporate Democrat back in place, it'll just be baseline and maybe it won't get worse. But how do we make it better?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, this is a conversation we should be having. Like while this illness, foodborne illness, is going through our nation, making our friends and family members and neighbors sick, we should be talking about how we feel about regulations and red tape. We should be having a conversation about it. And I've always been of a mind, I think Kevin completely articulated it. Like, look, that's there to protect you. But again, there's been a protracted and very successful movement to use the word red tape or regulations. You got working class people out here who have never really had to deal with regulations that stop them, but they've adopted this mindset that really only benefits the people who, if you don't have the regulations, they're going to make a lot of money. Listen, if it comes down between, and I think this is Democrat socialists as well, if it's a conversation about between polluting a river in any way that's for human consumption and anybody making any money, I'm always going to side with what's healthy for human beings. And that goes for anything that we consume, including the environment.
The data centers.
That's a health issue. But
yes,
for me, we should always err on the side is what is healthiest for us. And I think that there's a step further we can go with a lot of these regulations to get to where some of these other countries are. And
Which
I
is
think they
why
got a better quality of food.
blaming Trump is accurate and disingenuous. It's just America. We didn't just start polluting in 2024. We didn't just start putting red dye or allowing red dye in our foods in 2024. And you could say it's worse, but every year, if you go back, there's always an outbreak of something. Every year since I've been born. I didn't get my food poisoning in 2025. I got it in 2012 or whenever I got it. So it's disingenuous to blame the man at the top when the system has always been corrupt.
Yeah, some people are worse at it than others, though, Damon. I mean, I think, look, we got to acknowledge that no system is perfect, right? And we're probably never going to achieve this utopian society this side of heaven that we want to get here for a lot of different political reasons. I think the best that you can probably hope for is that you make some incremental gains and that you have leadership that doesn't send you backwards versus continuing to move you forward. I mean, I think you can point to a lot of things that show that we've gotten better in terms of, making a lot of these companies, particularly when it comes to food, disclosing on their labeling, what they're putting in there, and these additives and stuff that they're. I think the problem with a lot of people in America is a lot of people don't look at that. We know we've got health issues in America, which, those of you who are for universal health care, I think would make the argument this is why you need it, so that people can be more informed, that they can take better care of themselves, that they learn to look at the labels on what it is that they're eating and do a better job of taking care of their health. Because a lot of the stuff that we're shoveling in our bodies, we're doing it without even looking at information that's readily available that tells you, what that you're killing yourself. Like, pretty soon they're gonna have to start putting labelings on packages of chicken that they used to put on cigarettes. The Surgeon General warns you that eating this chicken leg, is probably going to, give you a heart attack or something like it may. And some people will still choose it, just like they choose cigarettes. But I think that, there have been certain administrations that have been better about protecting consumers than others. And I think that what conservatives do a great job of is selling the American people on government bloat, right? Like, there are too many people working for the government. There are too many agencies. There's all of this, and we need to cut and get rid of it. But when you look at everything that Trump has cut, he's cut vital things that are impacting these very areas that we're talking about. Nobody talks about the government glut of corporate welfare. Nobody talks about the billions of dollars that we spend on wars, which is money that could be better spent. Like, if you ask somebody, hey, would you rather have your tax dollars go to making sure that our food is safe, that our water is clean, and that our air is easier to breathe, or some billionaire out in Silicon Valley, gets a $50 million tax cut or something like that? Where would you rather have your tax dollars go? I guarantee you that an overwhelming number of Americans would choose the former. They would want to have clean air, clean food, clean water. But that's not the way the argument is presented by conservatives. It's tax cuts, right? We can get rid of all of this government bloat, but we can give this tax cut. Or we got to stop Iran from getting these nuclear weapons are not killing folks right now. You know what it is? Outbreaks, high blood pressure, poisons in your food and in your water, air quality. More people are dying from that than any threat that Iran is posing to the United States right now. And that's facts.
Oh, man. Okay. Interesting. That's facts. Yeah, I think we should have a conversation. We rarely have conversations about how stuff like this impacts. Let's make it an African-American thing, a Black thing. I think that Black people benefit from having consumer protections of our food, our water, our data, our credit. I think, having a federal government that has all of the teeth and fangs that it needs to go up against some of the biggest and most the richest companies in the country or the world to make sure they don't prey on us is what the federal government should be doing. And I think black people benefit from that. Everybody in the country benefits from that.
Say that again, Nathan. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that to me, this is just another example of what one of the more important roles that the federal government has. Yeah, we are in a capitalistic environment, but sometimes we need the government to step in because it's the only powerful entity that's big enough to stop some of the big time capitalists from robbing us blind or polluting our water. That benefits our neighborhoods when you have clean water, clean air, clean. You're not living next to something that is producing a lot of negative sound. That stops you from sleeping. We got enough stress. So when we talk about the black agenda, and I've seen various of them, our environment and our food should be a part of that. That to me, that's something, Damon, that like cuts across. Republicans too. Everybody wants their food to be clean. We want those kind of regulations so we can get a salad if we want to, and we don't feel like we're gonna spend the next 2 weeks in the restroom or in the bathroom. Come on, man. This is what government is supposed to do. It has a role. Same thing with your credit. Same thing with AI and your image. The government plays a role to make sure that the capitalists don't just get everything they want at your expense. That's the whole point. But again, people have just been force-fed this propaganda that you got to have smaller government. Well, we can look at it, but it needs to be big enough to deal with the biggest titans of industry out there. You can't have an Elon Musk who's more powerful than the United States government. Nobody benefits from that. It's always got to be like this, in my opinion. That's how I look at it. Could be wrong.
Yeah, I think we all want more regulation.
What you say, Demi?
I think we all want more regulation to make us safer. And we've always wanted that. Now we're in a slide of a lifetime to the bottom, and we'll have to protect ourselves and watch the things we eat. Maybe now we'll have to watch the things we eat, and because like I said, when you go to other countries, they have the warnings on the food, and they tell you it's too much sugar in this product, or they try to protect you, and their FDA is better than ours because we've sold out to corporations. Like I said, I think the people should be capitalists and the government should be socialists. The government should be taking care of the people who fail at capitalism. But right now it's bad. There's no question that right now it is bad.
Well, let me switch gears here to another topic. Let's talk about Boosie for a second. Boosie is a famous hip hop artist and I think reality TV show personality, internet personality. But he made some waves in the last couple of days. He put out, he let it be known that he is currently suing the Trump administration. And he's suing the Trump administration, he says, because he was looking for a pardon and he gave somebody $600,000. Not my words. That's what Boosie said online. And I'm like, that goes back to what I was saying about, Young Miami and this song about scamming, right? Because I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if it's true. I can't say it's true. All I know is that Boosie's saying it's true. He said, hey, I gave somebody $600,000. Now, I'm not suggesting that Donald Trump knows about this. He might have some people around him that just, ran, what's that word? A scam. I don't know. Again, that's all this. All of this is allegedly. I don't have any concrete information about anybody, but what does that say? I mean, do you believe Boosie? And what does that say?
Yes. I mean, look, is this even a question that Trump's pay to pardon practice is like a real thing? Like, I don't even think this is like shocking or breaking news. I mean, I guess if you Boosie, the shocking thing is that you believe these cats that told you that they had close connections with Donald Trump, that they could get it done for you. But I think he's just one of probably many people who had a pay for pardon arrangements or was trying to get that. It really makes me wonder about PG Sittenfeld now. Like, how much money did Sittenfeld come up off of to get that Trump pardon that he got? I think seeing that story raises a very legitimate question. Is now maybe he didn't have to, because there were some other political issues that were around PG Sittenfeld, such as fundraising, and so his case represented a larger campaign finance fundraising case that could have affected many more politicians beyond him. So it's possible that he might have gotten that pardon just based on the merits and the gravity of his case. But I'm definitely looking at this thing skeptically now and asking myself, man, because it was the same thing. Like Sittenfeld's people were able to they had connections with people who were in Trump's orbit, who was able to get in Trump's ear and get him on the pardoning list, right? And that's typically how it works. Is Trump don't know. You got to think Trump doesn't know probably 95% of the people that he's pardoned. He probably has no direct connection to him, but these are people that people in his orbit are bringing to him and saying, Mr. President, you ought to consider pardoning this individual or that individual, and he makes his decision based on whatever criteria he uses, which might be a check. You know what I'm saying? So I am very curious. That's the first thing I thought of when I heard that story. Not that I didn't believe him. Actually, it was probably secondary to he was a fool for getting scammed out of 600K. But my next thought after that was, I wonder if Sittenfeld had to come up off some cake to get his part.
I'll piggyback off what Kevin just said. The $600,000, that's gone. It's in the wind. I mean, I could have probably had a better chance of getting him a pardon for $600K. Come on, man. Boots, you got to be smarter than that. I mean, but my question also is, what does Bootsy need a pardon for? I mean, he can do anything he wants to do. He's got enough money to do anything, unless he wants to get into the political realm of things. And now go to what Kevin said about PJ. PJ's got a political future that they can invest in. He's got a political future that they can invest in. I believe that's why he got his pardon. They positioned it better. They framed it better. Maybe the person who presented it to Trump presented it better than just, hey, here's $600,000 cash. It's $600,000 to get a pardon. I mean, it's ridiculous, honestly, to think that would work.
Well, go ahead.
But the PJ Sittenfeld thing, I believe that has everything to do with the color of his skin and the position of the people who he has surrounding him that says, hey, Trump, this guy had a bright future ahead of him and he had this happen to him. Because you guys think PJ was the proverbial next candidate with his trajectory path was straight to be the next mayor of Cincinnati, easy. But then that happened, and then Aftab rose up, and then so Aftab took the reins. But there might be some owing going on, because I believe Joe Biden was owed a presidency, so to speak. Not to switch gears, but Bootsy was stupid, and PJ got his pardon because of the color of his skin and the way he positioned himself. That was dumb on Bootsy's part. I can't believe he got scammed like that.
So,
well, I mean, it was Drop put some information in here. He was using some specific names as well. I lost it. I'm not sure where it is in the chat right now. But apparently the story is out there. He was working with some associates. They told him they was MAGA. So I'm not saying this goes to Trump, but maybe somebody around him. And you never know. Maybe the 600,000 was just to even consider it. That was just a walk in the door. It doesn't guarantee you an outcome. But we'll take a look at your application, Chief, and get back to you. They looked at it and said, nah. And they kept the 600K.
The reason Boosie,
that's kind of what the guy said. That's kind of what you just said, Nathan, was kind of what the two guys said, that you ain't getting your money back, that that basically all that 600,000 bought you was an audience or our best effort to try to get, it through. It didn't guarantee you a result. And so, hey, sorry for your luck. And I think when you engage in that type of thing, you got to know that risk. If Boosie didn't know that risk going in, and again, that's why I said, he was dumb for getting into it. If you're going to put that kind of money out there, knowing that there's no guarantee that you're going to get that result, particularly if the cast told you that, then that's on you, bro. That's a $600,000 lesson learned.
Drop Squad 523 just dropped some more information that's really good. But the reason that it's interesting is because we all learned that as black men in America, you got to be twice as good. So Boosie's money wasn't twice as much. And then you got to think about all the other black rappers that Trump has pardoned, Lil Wayne and Kodak Black. He pardoned them as he was trying to win elections. So it's a political stunt, and they probably paid the money as well. They probably sent the million or however it goes. I'm sure PG sent the money. That also seems like something that Trump could be getting impeached for, because it's not just black people or just PG. There's a lot of crypto millionaires that have gotten pardons from Trump after he made millions of dollars with them. And I wonder what's going on with our government, even the Democrats. But fraud is fraud. So if you can't go convince 10 Republicans that this is fraud, these impeachments should be rolling down like rain every day. But they're not. We sit on here and we complain and we talk. But our leaders in government, I don't see it a day, as I would imagine should be happening for pay to play, for anything.
But Damon, don't you realize that what's going on here? The Republicans have control. They're never gonna allow articles of impeachment to get past the House, let alone to the Senate. And if it gets to the Senate, Republican senators will never vote to impeach Donald Trump for anything, unless it's something that mortally injures them in some way, like the Republican Party. They're not.
Definitely not over Boosie. Definitely not over Boosie.
Right.
For him.
Well, if you can force the vote, then you can at least say, like, okay, they won't. But what's happening is since we're not even attempting to force a vote, then we can't even put on record who won't or who will. You just assume that it can't happen.
You already know that. I don't think the American people look. If you paying attention, I get the paperwork in, get it down as a matter of record. It's like a lawyer knowing that the judge is going to overrule their objection. They just want to get it on the record. I understand that thought process and philosophy, but I think we all know that the Democrats are not in a position, and I understand exactly what Damon is saying, and this is why like a lot of Democrats feel like the Democratic Party is weak right now, because they're not fighting in all of the ways that people would think. It doesn't bother me because I'm pragmatic. I'm like, they don't have the votes, they don't have the ability. Like, pushing all of that through is a waste of time. It's not going anywhere. But some Democrats just need to see the fight. Some people just feel like they need to see that. I'm not one of those people that feels like I need to see that, because I understand that that's all show. That's for show. That's symbolism. It doesn't. I'm somebody that I like meat on the bone. I don't want symbolism or just things that for show, because I feel like politicians waste too much time on that crap versus actually giving you results, just doing things that look a certain way for their constituency, but it doesn't really move the needle anywhere. And so until Democrats get power and are in a position to where an impeachment could actually be something that you could like I'm not concerned about that right now, because they don't have it.
The Democrats, we got the Epstein files, but because you only needed 2 or 3 Republicans, you only need to convince 2 or 3 of 300. You can't go convince 2 or 3. You can't find a Republican that's in a weak space that's running for something right now that needs to vote, that needs not to look weak. Like, it's called whipping
because they wouldn't do it for far less. You had Republicans who were retiring, like not just that they had nothing to fear. They knew they were leaving, and these are still Republicans that even something far less significant than an impeachment, they wouldn't even cross over and vote with the Democrats for. So Trump is in control of the Republican Party. It is his party, plain and simple. You have he's purged all of the people who Massey ain't there no more. He has systematically eliminated every opponent that he would possibly have, and the rest of them look back and they see him knocking them down, and they're not going to risk their political careers or futures to stand. Surely not for impeachment. That's a death sentence for you politically if you're a Republican.
It's over for you, especially when most of these districts are heavily gerrymandered. Yeah. Trump is king in the Republican Party, so no, that's not going to happen. And to expect it, I think, is wrong. Yeah, to me, the Democrats shouldn't use that unless they know they're going to win. They're going to get whatever. They're going to get the impeachment. Don't use it again. You just trivialize it.
Do they
No
have
sense in
Exactly.
it?
That and Trump will use that against them. It's like it's the same. It's almost the inverse of what he's doing with the election stuff. Like what Donald Trump is doing with the election stuff at this point now is just bordering on pathetic. You know, his continued insistence and wanting to go, but like, ain't he supposed to be doing some kind of public address this week talking about the 2020 election? Dude, we like 6 years past the 2020 election, dude. Ain't nobody talking about that anymore. You won the last election, but this man refuses to move on, you know, and that is what I think sort of repeated unsuccessful impeachment attempts by Democrats would start to look like that.
Oh, so what are we supposed to do? We just gotta ride the wave. There's nothing to do until.
Well, it's a lot you can do, I'm sure. It doesn't mean you got to use that, but I'm sure it's a lot that they're doing. I'm not in the town. I don't know what the Democrats are doing. I'm sure they're working on all levels in all the states that's relevant.
Are they?
I'm only assuming. I don't know. I would be if I was a part of
it. We're
it.
gonna find out. We're gonna find out here in a couple of years because y'all. We're gonna find out if they're gonna have it's what kind of candidate are you guys gonna present in 2028. I mean, it's very winnable presidency. It's a very winnable presidency because the Republican Party is fractured right now. But if the Democratic Party keeps fumbling around and fumbling the ball, y'all gonna let JD Vance walk into, or Marco Rubio even more. Marco Rubio has a chance to walk into the White House. If you guys don't get your stuff together and like kind of come up with a game plan. Okay, Trump's only going to be in there for the next 2 years. Can we think beyond Trump? Because you guys are right. Trump I admit he's running the Republican Party right now, but most Republicans who were there way before Trump and who plan to be there way after Trump understand what's going on as well. And we're just riding the wave. Like, for the next 2 years, things are going to get shaky. Things are going to get bad, but we're going to ride this out.
You know what's going to be interesting is I want to know. I'm going to be curious to see how long Donald Trump withholds the ring from whomever the next candidate is for the Republican Party in the next election. Because trust me, Trump ain't going to just give that up. He's not just going to give up that endorsement or that blessing on the next candidate right off the rip. He's not going to do that because there's too much money in it. There's too much power and influence in it. He's going to ride that wave out, I believe, as long as he possibly can before he gives his blessing to whoever that person is. And whoever that person is going to become, is eventually going to become who the front runner is for the Republicans. I don't believe it's going to be JD Vance. I don't believe that for a minute. I think JD Vance is used goods. I don't think he can win. I think Rubio is probably a more, for a variety of reasons, is probably a more palatable candidate. But it'll be interesting. I think Trump's gonna ride that thing out for a minute. It ain't like he's gonna be out and then before he leaves anoint somebody. I think he's gonna ride that pony for as long as he can because there's just too much ego, too much money, too much power in turning that over sooner than necessary.
What is it with that age group? Like the Collins lady, like the McConnell, there's just people that 80-year-old people that just don't want to let go of the reins. I mean, it's like we see it in our community as well. When there's definitely qualified people in, let's say, the 40, 50-year-old age grain demographic, but the 60 and 70-year-olds just won't let it go. And I hope and pray that whenever I'm 50 and I'm 60 and 70 and I have that kind of, I'll let it go to the younger generation a little bit. But it's like they're holding on to this with some kind, like McConnell. The other day, he said, I'm going to be back on the Senate floor after everything he's went through, and and Senator McConnell is my favorite politician of all time. And I was like, how's he going to bounce back from this? Because he always like Teflon Don. He's pop, pop, pop. I was like, how's he going to bounce back from this when he's been gone? The speculations are crazy. And he comes up with my polio has back in the day when I had polio and I got the vaccine, I've been through all kinds of stuff for this country, and comes out shining like a diamond again. So my question is, when are these old dudes gonna just let it go. The Trumps, the Bidens, the Collins, the McConnells, all these people. When are we going to put a cap on age limits to where these people can't run no more? And if you're over a certain age, you can't even sit on this thing. I understand the vote, but when are we going to cap this stuff?
Well, I mean, you had an option. You could have voted for Kamala Harris. She's only about 61 years old, which is 20 years younger than the person that you voted for. So please stop it. Like age was a factor for you.
You got me. You got me.
Like
Right.
age was a
You right.
factor.
You right. You got me. You got me, Nathan. You got me.
You know what? The ultimate term limit though is the American people. I mean, I feel you. Like you could go ahead and put term limits in there, but the reality is, I said the same thing about LeBron James, right? There are people, LeBron James need to go ahead and retire. Like, look, it's the rare individual that's gonna call it quits when you think they should call it quits. People quit when they get ready for whatever reason that is, whether that's age, whether that's they're tired of it or whatever it is. People hang in there until they don't want to anymore. And when have you ever seen somebody who has had a certain amount of privilege, power, and then, of course, money that goes along with being in those political spaces, just give that up because they get too old or because, you think they ought to? Like, if you don't have strict term limits and the American people don't want to get rid of them, then of course they're gonna stay in that position until they get tired. And you got to think, people like McConnell, this is all they do. This is all they know. This is all they've done for most of their professional and political lives, right? So what is it? What's Mitch McConnell gonna do? Quit and go do what? Shuffleboard at the nursing home, which is probably the most likely thing. But I mean, they tripping on power, influence that money, and I don't know anybody. I don't know most people who, when they have that, who give that up easily or give it up just because other people say they should.
Yeah.
Let's talk about let me see here. Let's talk about Caitlin Clark, because I know that Kevin's a big fan of Caitlin Clark. In fact, Kevin compared Caitlin Clark to Seth Curry. And I tried to tell this brother that she was just ordinary. I tried to tell you. And has anybody been paying attention? Number one, the WNBA, the quality of the game is top tier. I thoroughly enjoy WNBA games because they play with a fierceness. I mean, just the physicality, the X's and O's, you get it all there. Plus the personalities. And many Republicans, this is what they got time to do. All this stuff going on with affordability. And you got too many Republican congressmen and women from across the country sending letters to the WNBA because they claim that Caitlin Clark is being hard filed and is racially motivated. Like, them sisters in the WNBA is going at her because of her skin color, which I do not believe is necessarily what it is, if it is that. Have y'all been seeing some of the flop videos? Like, all-time pathetic flop videos where it's to the point now where it's clear that Caitlin Clark is aware of what people are saying and she's playing into it on the court. It's the worst thing that I've ever seen in terms of basketball in my life. And all these MAGA folks, unfortunately, these Republican senators, they're enabling this to happen. And it's just it's just a really bad look. The people now not me, this is not my opinion of Caitlin Clark, but there are now people online calling her or referring to her as Caitlin Confederate Clark because of her associations with, people on the right and things like that. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm just stirring the pot for this show. So it's not my personal view, but that's what people are saying. Caitlin Confederate Clark.
That's the whole tragedy, I think, of this situation. Because one, that's not fair. That's not fair to Caitlin Clark. Two, I think everybody is racializing and politicizing this thing except for the players in the WNBA. I think this is ridiculous that the federal government would even think about trying to get involved in a sport over hard fouls. This is what, you know, the conservatives always want to talk about woke stuff and snowflakes and soft stuff. This is soft. Like, I played basketball. I own a basketball team. Hard fouls are part of the game. Michael Jordan, the Detroit Pistons used to beat the mess out of Michael Jordan when he went to the hole. I mean, they used to clothesline you back in the day. Everybody remember that Kurt Rambis foul that he took, you know, when he was with the Lakers and the Celtics back in the day. Basketball has always been a physical sport. And the notion that the federal government, when we got wars, affordability, and everything else going on, wants to take time to talk about whether Caitlin Clark is being racially profiled or whatever the terminology they're using in the WNBA is flat out ridiculous. Caitlin Clark is one of the better players in the WNBA. She's one of the most, arguably, you could say, the most popular player in the WNBA. What comes along with that is players who are going to make you want to prove that on the court. It has very little to do with her race, and more so, hey, we ain't going to just let you come in here with all that hype, right, and not earn it. And so the vets are making her earn it. And she's no different than any man that's played in the NBA or at any level of competitive sports. So we need to get off of this whole, if we want to treat everybody, if we want to act like everybody is equal and we should all play by the same rules, then get off of that. This is basketball. It's women's basketball. Caitlin Clark is a very good player in a league full of very good women players, professional players, the best at their sport, and basketball is physical. This is the most ridiculous thing. The politicians are trying to politicize and racialize it. I think the media is complicit in racializing and politicizing this, and certain fans who want to, forward some agenda are, I would say that it's more the Confederate fans than the Confederate Caitlin Clark, because I think she has tried to make some statements about, hey, she don't want none of this. Like, she's tried to speak positively about, the league and other players in the league. So she's not promoting this. And as far as flopping goes, that's modern basketball, right? They talk about that in the NBA. Joel Embiid, my dude that plays for my favorite team, they talk about him flopping. Shane Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP of the league the last 2 seasons, he's been accused of flopping. So flopping, unfortunately, is part of the game now.
Let me introduce a alternative because this kind of triggers me. Republicans pressure WNBA over Caitlin Clark treatment. Let's think about AAU basketball on the girls circuit. How many of these AAU basketball girls that start playing basketball at age 9 are Black and that can afford this kind of stuff and are non-Black? So I'm thinking about it on an economic standpoint. So if you're looking at these little girls and these moms are out taking these girls to these basketball games and spending all this money on AAU tournaments and AAU basketball games and traveling all over, and they see on the WNBA on the larger screen, the poster child for the WNBA and what all these little girls aspire to be, not all, but the majority of the girls who play AAU basketball, who go through the circuit to make it to the next level. If you're from a certain demographic age, from let's say 9 to 16, whenever you're 16, they pick you out and they're like, all right, we want you. You're going to this college. You're going to make it to the next level. But between those ages, there's a lot of money that's being spent. So I'm sure that a couple state representatives have family members that went down this thing, or which would in turn go to the legislators who are in your state, your congressmen and your House representatives and your senators from your state. So it kind of trickles up, so to speak. So these people are going to complain, and my daughter is seeing Caitlin Clark. You seeing Caitlin Clark get beat up? Well, I don't want my daughters playing this certain basketball team because it's all Black basketball team, and I heard they're pretty physical. So let's start at this level so we can start demonizing Caitlin, or not demonizing, but recognizing the hard fouls that Caitlin Clark's are taking and the effect that it's having on the psyche of these AAU basketball girls like, oh, I don't want to play, or intimidated by the black girls who are playing because they're making a big deal about how Caitlin Clark is being pushed around. You know, so I'm looking. I understand the what we're talking about. I'm looking at it from a even more of a level of why the Republicans would do this. And I'll land my plane here. On the Democratic side, I would be there's probably less women politicians on the Democratic side that care about sports balls, if that makes sense. Most women who are on the Democratic sides, you start talking about bringing up sports to them, they're really not, unless it's their kid is like extremely talented. Most of them kids are not involved in sports. They're involved in civil justice activists, arts, and all that. They're not sports type people. So that's my take on it. The Republicans pressure the WNBA over Caitlin Clark because most of the legislators probably have a direct correlation from what's going on from their perspective as Republicans, not Americans, but as Republican legislators.
Caitlin Clark is the great white hype. I wasn't old enough to be there when Larry Bird came into the league. I imagine it was some of the similar rumblings that, they're not treating Larry right. Caitlin Clark, as good as she is, she does shoot it from deep. She's only this famous because of her getting into it with Angel Reese. Like she went to Iowa, right? So she made it to the Final Four, but I didn't even start taking notice to Caitlin Clark until her and Angel Reese had a basketball beef.
That's black people. Racial. That's black people, Damon.
What's black?
Black people only started noticing, and again, largely a lot of that is because of the racial element of that whole situation. But if you followed basketball, particularly women's college basketball, you knew who Caitlin Clark was because she was the best player in women's college basketball. She holds virtually every, record for women's college basketball. This is the thing that I hate about, because this is where I do feel like a certain amount of the racial hate comes in, right? Like Caitlin Clark's not that good. Okay, first of all, I tend to listen to the players, okay, the people who actually go up against her versus the armchair pundit who's watching things from TV. Players know game, recognize game. And I don't think you'll find any player in the WNBA who would not testify to how good Caitlin Clark is. In fact, many of them came in with the attitude in her rookie season that they thought she was overrated. And many of those players had to come back and correct, because I've seen some people in the chat trying to diminish how good she is. She may not be the best. She may not be the best player in the WNBA, but you can't discount how good she is, and that's where I think some of the hate kind of comes.
It's not hate, because she is great, and she does have the most points of any college women's basketball player. But she also went to Iowa, and you can't name not one of her teammates. Which means that they allow her to get those points. They let her jack it up. They built a system around her. Whereas Angel was playing with Flaugier and a bunch of other WNBA players right now. So she was built. It was manufactured. And I didn't find her. When she was a freshman, if she was doing that, I wasn't watching. But now, when she got into it with Angel Reese, it became this national story when they hit her with this, or when she beat South Carolina and she went in there and took them black girls to court and she was like, "Oh, you can't shoot," right? So it became racial, and which is terrible, but that's where we live. So if you say the Republicans are sending letters to the WNBA saying, "Oh, they fouling her too hard," is that what the story is?
Basically, they're saying it's racially motivated.
That is racially motivated. Why? Yeah. And the league isn't doing enough to protect her.
Right.
The league, her team, her coach. That's a broad view that neither the league, the team, nor the coach is doing enough to protect her.
Right. And that's where I think it differs from the point you was trying to make, Kevin, about flopping being part of the game. Yeah, but this is a different part of the game because she's doing this under this racialized environment where she knows that there are some very powerful people out there and millions of fans that are making these arguments online. I'm disappointed in the Republican Party for once again not acting like Republicans. Smaller government, less government interference. Now, because of your personal viewpoint, you're watching the game right one night. You think that she got fouled too hard. You believe that it's racially motivated. So you use your official capacity to put pressure on a private business. I mean, that is antithetical, the opposite of what Republicans have always said they believed in. But that's where we are. But the most disappointing person to me is Caitlin Clark. Because when the news broke about these Republicans trying to overstep their boundaries and put political pressure on the WNBA, to my knowledge, she has yet to put out a statement saying, hey, listen, y'all, that's not what's happening here. I'm just balling. This is competition. Stay out of this. That's what she should have done. And until she does that, I'm gonna think about her a little bit differently. I'm gonna think, because she's being quiet, and being quiet means that she's complicit on some levels. And I hopefully she'll make a statement soon. Maybe she will, maybe she won't. But that's how I see it, at least right now.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that statement. I mean, she definitely could. She definitely probably could step forward and say something. But my sense is that everybody around this situation is trying to be careful. The WNBA is trying to be careful. I think a lot of the players are trying to be careful. And I'm certain that she is trying to be careful around this particular issue, because I think it's gotten to a point now where people are in their positions, and nothing that Caitlin Clark or anybody else is going to say is only going to add oxygen to the fire, right? It's not going to diffuse it. So if Caitlin Clark comes out, anything that she says is automatically going to become a political lightning rod for one side or the other. You know, she's got her endorsements and money tied up in it, and she might be getting some advice saying that, hey, nothing that you can say, it ain't worth the backlash that whatever's going to come from whatever, and maybe all directions if you don't say it exactly right, because you could come out and say something and then people on the right get on her, but she don't phrase it quite right, and people on the left get on her, and now you're catching it from both sides for saying something. So it's like, you know, I think those of us who are on the outside looking in on these situations, like, it's easy to criticize. But when you are the one under the spotlight and you got to come out with the statement and the wording that is precise, that's going to try to defuse it, it's easier said than done. I really do think that's easier said than done.
So Caitlin Clark may not even be the best basketball player on the Fever. The best basketball player is probably Kelsey Mitchell. And I agree with you, what you said earlier about listening to the players. There was a recent poll put out about who was the top point guards. The WNBA players rated her as the 11th best point guard. So she's good enough to be in the WNBA. Is she world class? Yes. But is she at the top of world class basketball players? Obviously not. If I'm building a team, I'm building around Paige Beckers. If I had to choose between Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark from strictly basketball, I'm choosing Paige Beckers. And there's a lot of really talented ballers who got better stats than Caitlin Clark. But I get it. America likes her, and she is valuable. She is definitely valuable.
So that's a perfect example of where stats don't tell the whole story. So I'm gonna break it down for you.
Okay,
that was not all 130, 140 WNBA players that voted on that. Only 85 of the 140 players in the WNBA voted in that. And you could only select 4 players. So each player only got to put 4 names down there for who they would vote for. So the fact that she finished 11th is not, I mean, it's relevant based on those who voted and the criteria that was there, but I don't necessarily think that that's a true reflection of where she ranks or maybe how the entirety of the league.
How could you not? I mean, I didn't hear anything that you said that would question the way it was put together. I mean,
if less than half your league votes, then you can't say that this is a broad reflection of what the league feels.
Yes, you can.
Absolutely.
And any pollster in America
absolutely
will tell you that.
You can. Statistically, that doesn't say anything. If you
says
were
a
to
whole
take
lot.
if you were to take a poll, and 40% of American voters said that they were for
You're wrong.
somebody, if only 40% of Americans who voted took
You're
a
wrong.
poll and you said they were going to, there's no way statistically that you would say
Statistically,
that
that's
that's
very
relevant.
sound.
That's
Statistically, that's
relevant.
very sound. It's very rare for any pollster to be able to poll 50% of this particular.
Yeah, because they got it so right
demographic.
when Hillary Clinton
Usually,
and Donald Trump ran in
usually,
2015, because those
I'm
polls
talking
are
about
just
any
so accurate.
pollster. I'm not just talking about political polling. I'm just trying to tell you this. If you can get 50% of your targeted demographic, I mean, that poll is through the roof in terms of statistical relevance. Usually it's less than 10%, 5, 3, 2, 1. So yeah, if 85 of the players got together and voted that way, Kevin, that's how they feel about her. Don't try to challenge the
I'm not
test
trying. I'm
because you
just
don't
saying.
like
I'm
their
just saying,
conclusion.
Nathan, that you got to take that. You got to take that with a grain of salt. You're
No, you
presenting it
don't.
as
We
if
gotta
it's an
take it.
absolute.
Why can't we believe women? The women
Oh my
spoke.
God! Now I know what Nathan's doing. Now he just
I'm just being what
he is
women
truly
just
in pot
spoke.
stirring mode. That you gave yourself away
You
on
try
that
to
one, bro.
delegitimize my point, but I'm gonna stick
that
with it.
statement gave you away.
You don't. You try
Can,
to
can, I say, can I
delegitimize
make
my
a point
point.
about Caitlin Clark before? Because Sierra and someone else said I was being
Yeah, what did they say?
they were saying I'm being offensive. When I'm just
Yeah, you were
telling
being
the truth.
offensive.
If the truth hurts and the truth is offensive, then I'm sorry. Caitlin Clark is the face of the WNBA. She's the face of the WNBA. Who's watching who are they trying to market to? Other little girls who want to play basketball and make it to the WNBA. Who attends more basketball games, these AAU basketball games, in the demographic? It's little white girls, so they're trying to protect their great white hope from the face of the WNBA. If that's offensive to someone, how I broke it down, then I don't get it. If they're protecting Caitlin Clark because she's white, because they're trying to save the image of white people while they're trying to do, and the legislators are the white people who are doing it, it just makes sense all across the board. I don't even understand how that is coming off as arrogant. How is that coming off as arrogant?
That is nothing the government should be involved in. Here's what I'll say on the white.
I'm not saying they should be, Kevin. And that's where I think the disconnect is. I'm just presenting facts. I'm not saying that what they're doing is right or I think it's horrible. But when you look at the facts of who's attending these AAU basketball games, these girls' AAU basketball games from age 9 to 16, and then you look at who's attending the most WNBA games, and I think if it's Golden State, which is a huge market, and then New York is second, and then Indiana is third. Little Caitlin Clark in small town Indiana is drawing more people than all of New York. Or New York, you could usually have two professional basketball teams. California has multiple basketball teams. Indiana has one Caitlin Clark bringing that many people to. She's the face of the WNBA, so they're trying to protect her.
She's one of the faces. The league these days seem like they have multiple faces that they invest in, not just
She's
one.
the
Like,
face. I mean,
they'll take a unicorn. Well, it depends on your audience. Like, to some people, Asia Wilson is the face. To some people, it might be another player.
Here's the reality, Nathan, and this I'm gonna just break it down from is going to include the racial element. Here's the reality.
Break it down.
Who did you say before Caitlin Clark? You said was the face. Asia.
To some people, she's the face of the NBA.
Before she was the best player and still is. Some would say is the best player in the WNBA.
All would say
WNBA wasn't raking in the kind of money and attendance that it is today when she was the face of the WNBA. Those are facts. Didn't nobody know who she was? People wasn't watching the league like that. The attendance wasn't.
I'm not sure that's true.
What wasn't what it is. Those are facts. Those are facts.
Those are not.
WNBA is only around today because it is heavily subsidized by the NBA. Let's not trip and act like the WNBA is a self-sustaining business that's just that for
NBA is only around because it's subsidized these days.
That for much of its history has survived because of these exceptionally talented women. The reality is this: is that one, women don't watch WNBA basketball their fan base is still largely, probably mostly a male audience. And not a ton of men, let's just face it, you could call it sexism, misogyny, or whatever. But the reason why women's sports don't make money like men's sports is because men don't watch women's sports. That's just that at that volume. Caitlin Clark, what she has done is she has brought a demographic of men who were not paying attention to the WNBA to start watching it. You might include me in that demographic, right? And there are a lot of men who were paying zero attention to the WNBA before Caitlin Clark. There were a lot of media outlets that were paying next to no attention to the WNBA that are now giving
That's not
it.
true.
Okay, Nathan, you want to argue against the realities of what the economics tell you about that
Just
league.
because you say it's the reality doesn't mean it's the reality.
Feel that way.
That's your perspective. I acknowledge that.
Doesn't equal the facts of what it was that nobody was watching.
And that's what I'm telling you.
Nobody was watching it, Nathan. Nobody was paying attention to the WNBA.
That's just not true.
Okay.
That's just not true.
The WNBA was not the WNBA. Okay, to say that nobody was watching
the WNBA before Caitlin Clark got there is not factually correct.
So attendance isn't up since Caitlin Clark came into the league.
That's a whole different conversation.
Dollars ain't up. That's the whole different argument, Nathan. She has lifted that league out of obscurity. She's lifted that league out of obscurity. She has. And here's where I say the racial element comes in. And this is important. Y'all ain't gonna like this either. But I'm gonna go ahead.
If the league was so obscure, why'd she go into it?
What?
I said if the league was so obscure, why did Caitlin Clark want to get drafted and
because
go to it?
Because she plays basketball.
That's
she wants to play professional basketball.
Played overseas,
Caitlin
Kevin.
Clark is making,
That's because
Caitlin
the
Clark
reason
is
why,
making
Kevin,
millions off of her
the reason
endorsement.
why, Kevin, the reason why she wanted to go to the league is because there was a league with an audience and a rich history that she wanted to be a part of.
Sure, Nathan.
So stop trying to make it seem like she saved something. There was already a league there, and if Caitlin Clark left tomorrow,
if you want to believe, look, let the NBA pull their money. Let the NBA pull their money out of the WNBA. That league would fold tomorrow.
Thank you, Nat. Thank you, Nat. Cynthia Cooper, Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie. We know these women because they was ballers way before Caitlin Clark got there.
Okay. Listen, money, and that's the bottom line, Nathan. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Stop
and let the NBA pull their
women.
money out, and you would have never heard of any of those women because it is not a self-sustaining business model.
Before
disrespecting black women.
Black women had to go to Russia, Brittany Griner, and was right. So before Caitlin Clark came into the league, all those WNBA players were going overseas to hoop because they had to subsidize their pay. After Caitlin Clark, they got a new TV deal, and now they hoping that they don't have to go to other countries to play basketball in the summer.
Let me jump on back to that, Damon, when you're done.
No, not true.
Indiana Fever undisputed the
NBA
has consistently set the record.
What is your sources, brother? You ain't gonna bring some
They
sources.
Broke a million. I'm looking up right now. It says unwaveringly the Indiana Fever viewership is up 1 million to 1.5 million viewers, even when Caitlin Clark is on the bench since she's been there. Up 1 point. They said it's a what do they call it? A massive. It's a massive.
Y'all should be ashamed of yourself for sitting here trying to make this argument that this one woman, Caitlin Clark, lifted and made the WNBA to what it is now. That y'all should be ashamed for yourself.
Not single-handedly.
Y'all should be ashamed of yourself.
You're completely missing the point. Nobody is saying that the WNBA hadn't established itself and doesn't have a long history of great players. What I'm saying is Caitlin Clark elevated the WNBA from a
nobody ever argued against that.
You can try to be politically correct. for the women or whatever, but the reality is,
your argument
and
now.
here's what I would say is maybe if all of the women out there who always stumping for this actually watch the WNBA, it would be a lot better than it is. But you get all of these women who come on here or different and want to talk about it and get their feel. How many are watching? How many are buying merchandise? How many are going to the games? You know what? Because women don't even support their own by watching these sports. It's still heavily reliant on men to buy tickets and watch these games. And the reality is that the majority of men don't. They don't.
I'm glad you backed away from that argument you were making before, because it made no sense. I'm glad you backed away from what you said before, Kevin, because before you was trying to make it seem like the WNBA was nothing before Caitlin Clark came. That's what you was basically saying.
I said she lifted it up out of relative obscurity.
That's not what you said. You said that
is what I said.
You said that afterward.
I said she lifted the tried to make it seem like obscurity. That's what I said.
Yeah, you changed it. Again, that's a good thing. You
roll back the tape, bro.
If we roll back the tape, you're not gonna believe it. But you said exactly.
Damon, what did I say?
Did I say the argument? You tried to make the argument.
The word nobody, because you said nobody was watching. He said,
okay, and I went back and I said that's an extreme. That's hyperbole, right?
Well,
if I say I don't mean literally nobody watched it.
See, Kevin, I didn't know you had a problem with women. Oh my gosh.
Kevin.
You got to be a fool to think if I say nobody watched it, that meant absolutely nobody watched it. That's a little bit of entertainment
argument tonight.
They put words in your mouth, Kevin. I got your back. They put words in your mouth on that one, bro.
Nobody's putting words in his mouth. That's what he said.
Nathan does that when he's wrong. When he's wrong, all he does is he try to get it stirred up.
This is all just deflection. And I'm glad you come back. I'm glad you come back to the common sense side. So there was a thriving WNBA.
It was not.
Trajectory. There was a thriving WNBA.
Nathan, what's your definition of thriving, bro? What's your definition of thriving?
There was a thriving WNBA with a rich history of female stars that balled out, a fan base with an upward trajectory when Caitlin Clark came in, along with Angel Reese and other stars. And Caitlin Clark, along with those other stars, have taken it even further. That is a more accurate way to describe what is happening with the WNBA.
An accurate way of describing it is WNBA is a league that wasn't making money. That's an accurate way to describe it. Is the WNBA was a league that wasn't making money, and but for the subsidizing of men's basketball in the NBA, there would be no league.
And if not for the subsidizing by the American taxpayers, there would be no NBA. So everybody gets subsidized.
You can pay your own bills. You're not thriving if you can't pay your own bills.
What are you talking about? That makes no sense.
You're struggling if you can't pay your own bills.
The NBA and sports teams, many of them get tax-supported stadiums. They struggle to pay their own bills, but they get subsidized. How is that somehow you're going to use that against the WNBA? That I don't understand. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
You sound like
somebody out there
who said that golf isn't popular because of Tiger Woods, right? When Tiger came in and we was all watching, you like, no, it ain't because Tiger. We've been playing golf for 300 years. Nobody cared. Nobody cared.
That's
but now
right.
you got Kate. Let's see if she can see the logo.
Exactly. There was I've been watching the WNBA since with Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Bailey. These are ballers, man. I didn't just start watching
ago.
Yes.
Somebody from 5 years ago.
That's how, man, I can name all kind of players, man. They got a young sister right now.
Sophia Cunningham.
Sophia Cunningham is my favorite player right now.
Can we separate for a second the conversation about how talented these women are? That's not even the conversation. The conversation is the league, is it a sustainable league without the NBA? And up until Caitlin Clark, and even still now with Caitlin Clark, that is very dubious. But here's what I was going to say with the racial element, why the racial element should matter in this and why it actually should be celebrated. because the bottom line is this: just like Tiger Woods was good for golf because it brought a whole bunch of black people to the game, to the interest, to watching golf tournaments. It made the purses go up. Everybody made more money. It's good to have the great white hopes in black dominated sports. It's good to have Tom Brady in the NFL. It's good to have Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. You know why? Because it's good for business. Just like black people need somebody to root for and cheer for, so do white people.
We know. What's your point?
Black people trip on this.
We know. What's your point?
But just like we can be proud of Tiger Woods and want to see Tiger Woods excel and be among the best, white people can want to see Caitlin Clark be great.
Absolutely.
And see Larry Bird want to excel. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, that is good. The Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark dynamic, I look at very similar to Bird and Magic, right? Bird and Magic single-handedly saved the NBA, because if you don't remember, the ABA had largely become, it still is, but the NBA was mostly all black. You didn't have a ton of really great white players. I mean, you might have had Bill Walton or something like that back in the day, but the NBA was on a downward trajectory. Bird and Magic, and the fact that Larry Bird was not just good, but arguably one of the best players, if not the best player in the NBA, and he was white, and he played in Boston, of all places. That racial dynamic was good for the NBA.
We know, but what is your point for the 40th time? What is your point? We got that.
My point is,
great points.
Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. The same dynamic.
Yeah, my point is that
we know that. That's why I said it's not just one player. It's not just Caitlin Clark because she can't play by herself. You got a whole
she can't. But
he doing that on purpose.
But she's bringing a whole lot of white people along with her, particularly white men. She's bringing along with her, and that is not insignificant, because I don't care what business you running, you need white dollars.
Yeah, we got that. I'm not sure what the point is. We got that. All true. Let's say everything you're saying is true. So what? How does that apply to what we're talking about?
No, I was explaining why the racial dynamic is not a negative. It's all in this situation. Caitlin Clark and her whiteness is being presented as a negative. I'm saying it's a positive for everybody involved. It's a positive for the black players. It's a positive for the WNBA. It's a positive thing for the fan base.
It depends on the player, because what is not positive for the WNBA right now is to have the Republican Party and all these people online talking about, oh, she's being treated unfairly, and they're talking about putting the WNBA on notice, like they're gonna, I don't know, do something to them using their power. And you got Caitlin Clark
and her marketability. That's people on the outside.
Yeah, but I haven't finished my point.
Outside who are doing that.
Yeah, but I haven't finished my point. I'm going somewhere.
Blame Caitlin Clark for what, and her whiteness on what other people.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to my point though. Yeah, I understand, but let me finish. So you got these people on the outside putting all this pressure on her, and yet you got Caitlin Clark, who hasn't put out a statement saying no. You know, this is just competition. This is just the WNBA. I don't need anybody to look after me, and the league's got it. That affirms the legitimacy of the league. That's good for all the players, including her, because you're reinforcing spirit of competition rather than being silent and acting like, yeah, I'm being mistreated. That's gonna mess up the balance of the legitimacy of the calls and potentially how people view it. You shouldn't be able to influence the game because you don't like it and you happen to be a congressperson. That's just dead wrong. And until she stands up and says something, that's just going to be hanging out there. And those players know that she could put a statement out as well. So it's just all bad, and it's all her.
She put a statement out saying that the officiating in the WNBA isn't good. And 8 other coaches joined her and a bunch of other players because they're officiating. They don't have full-time referees. They got part-time people coming in from high schools or wherever they got them coming in from. And that goes into the same play. So maybe after she put that, you could Google it. So after she put that statement out, then
Sorry about that.
She has friends in high places who sent a letter in for her, right? But the officiating in the WNBA is a problem because they don't have official referees. They got people coming in part-time. So now the government or the Republicans, whoever you want to call them, have put more pressure on them because they want the WNBA to make their officiating up to par.
No, they don't. They want that. No, they don't. They want to see the calls that they want to see.
Clark does. Caitlin Clark wants the officiating better. And probably what Caitlin Clark wants, she gonna get. Because she's Larry Bird.
And I think that's bad for the game. That's bad for the game. The game should always be about the game.
Come on, man. You think the NBA didn't revolve around Michael Jordan, didn't revolve around Bird and Magic, that what the best players in your league have to say always matters. Like, Nathan, that's naive. Look, these players just want to play basketball. They're not activists, they're not politicians. And this is what I'm saying. It's everybody around them that is the issue, not the players or the league in and of itself. It's the politicians, it's some of the fans with their agenda. As I said, I even think it's some of the media that's complicit in trying to play up some of these storylines. Look, if you're a basketball player, you want to play ball. That's it, plain and simple. You want to play ball and you want to be the best at your game. You ain't trying to make no political statements at the podium after the game. You trying to talk about the game. You trying to talk about what you're trying to do. You trying to talk about winning championships. That's the sad tragedy of the times that we live in. It's like everything becomes a political statement. It can't just be basketball. It can't just be a physical game. It can't just be that sometimes the refs are terrible because they are part-time and we don't pay enough to get top-notch level referees in the league because we ain't making that kind of money. Maybe all of those factors are actually what it really is versus the political stuff that everybody who ain't playing the game is trying to make it.
And that's what Caitlin Clark should say. That's my point. Because she's at the center of this firestorm, whether she put herself or not, she's got a responsibility to speak for the integrity of the league that she chose to be in. She chose to go to the WNBA. She could have went anywhere in the world that she wanted to. So now that you're here, you can't, for selfish reasons, sit back and let the game be torn down just for you to benefit on the court.
See, here's where I disagree with that, Nathan. Here's where I disagree, and this is where I say that the league in and of itself is weak, right? Because as a league, you ought to be protecting your brand and you ought to be protecting your players, right? So if you had a stronger league with stronger leadership, they should be the one answering these political questions, not trying to put Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, or any of your other players on the firing line where they're going to take the brunt of the bullets, because that's what's happening right now. Is whether you're Caitlin Clark or whether you're some of these African-American players in the league, they're the ones taking bullets on social media. And I think that is a failure of leadership of the WNBA to not step up and defend their league and defend their players.
They put out statements.
I think the league leadership is too weak because they're the ones that should be standing up. And
the WNBA has already put out statements.
They ain't put out a strong enough statements.
Yeah, maybe not. But Caitlin Clark hasn't put out any statements. And because she's at the center
this would be very easy. This would be very easy for the league.
It's on her to do it because she's at the center of it.
This would be very easy for the league to do it. And this is why one of these days I'm going to start my own consulting company that's going to probably save a whole bunch of people a lot of time and energy. This is all the WNBA needs to do is produce a very strong statement and then get, if not the entirety of the league, but all of their top players just to stand with them, have the commissioner of the league stand up and deliver a statement and an address to the media, and you have all of your key players standing beside you flanking. So their mere presence there without them having to say a word says, hey, we're all standing together on this.
What sense does that make? So you want to pull
it makes a lot of sense because it takes the pressure.
So you want
individual athletes to have to say
so you don't want Caitlin Clark, who this is all about. These Republicans didn't say anything about any other players. They specifically
Sure, they did. They said
Caitlin
something
Clark.
about.
They said specifically their gripe is with the fact that they feel. Can I finish?
Something about every player in the league.
They didn't say anything about any other player other than Caitlin Clark. Their issue is that they felt like it was racially motivated and targeted to Caitlin Clark. So your suggestion is that Caitlin Clark doesn't have to put out a statement at all. But then all of the other top players who aren't even involved should get involved and go on stage. That makes no sense.
Because Nathan, the point that you're missing is that without naming, Caitlin Clark is the only name that they're mentioning. But by proxy, they're mentioning just about every other black player in the WNBA by saying that she's being racially targeted. So if you are a black player in this league that has fouled Caitlin Clark, they're essentially naming you without naming you. So yes, you are involved.
That's a big stretch. If
they're saying that Caitlin Clark is being racially targeted by hard fouls, so every black player that has given Caitlin Clark a hard foul by proxy, they're saying you're the problem.
Why is it so hard for you to hold Caitlin Clark responsible? In your view, everybody else is responsible. You want to hold the league responsible? You want to hold all the top players. Now you're saying all the black players are responsible to say something other than Caitlin Clark. Why is that, Kevin?
Because it's the league. This is a league problem. They're coming after the league. You don't see that, Nathan?
Yeah, I just don't see your point at all. No,
I know you don't. You never see common sense point. You never see common sense point.
Yeah.
The referees in the WNBA aren't the best. The system isn't the best. Caitlin Clark has said things. This week, she said things. Now, you want Caitlin Clark to respond to the race, and I think she's done that before too. But when we talk about referees, everybody in the WNBA is having the same conversation about the it's not the best system. So if these why is everything Republican or Democrat with y'all when the whole system's bad, but you're focusing on the wrong thing, brother Nathan.
That's the context of the conversation, though.
I understand.
The whole context is that the Republicans. It was Republicans that decided to send letters to the WNBA. I didn't make that decision. I'm just talking about what they did.
If it was the Democrats, how would you be talking about it? If it was
the exact same way.
If it was
I feel the exact same way.
Huh?
I'd feel the exact same way. Get out. This is none of your business. Who cares about what you think? Go legislate something else. Feel the same way.
So if somebody was trying to protect Serena Williams, you feel the same way?
Of course he wouldn't.
I would feel the exact same way. I would feel the exact same way. I don't care who it is.
No, he wouldn't, Damon.
Don't you believe that for a
second? Don't you believe
I can speak for myself. I'm not. I'm extremely capable of speaking for myself. You can't read my mind. If you can read my mind, what am I thinking right now?
I don't need to read your mind. I just need to know what your arguments are. I just read the track record. I'm just looking at the track record.
I have a track record. I have a track record always making sense and being able to articulate how I feel. You can't read my mind. So you don't know what I'm thinking.
We need that AI thing from the poker. You seen the new thing with the poker?
Like I said, 1,000%. Like I said, 1,000%. If it was Serena Williams and any politician, I don't care who it is, decided that you was going to flex your position and try to influence a personal, like a sports league, I feel the same way. The race has nothing to do with it, nor does the political affiliation. That's just an overstep of government.
On those points, we're in agreement. I don't think anybody is disagreeing with the point that should Republicans be involved in this? No, I said that in the beginning, that they got way bigger fish to fry than to be meddling in this. Right. My whole point is you're trying to say that Caitlin Clark bears more responsibility than anybody else to speak against that. And I think that's crap.
Oh, okay.
I think that's crap. I think that's crap that she doesn't have any more obligation to speak against it than does anybody else. This is why I said that this is the league thing. And the perfect point to illustrate my point, Damon said it and I said it, is that Caitlin Clark has said things in the past about this whole racial element and all of that, but that ain't good enough for you. And that's my point.
You just made my point.
No, it's not. Because no matter what she says, no matter how many times she says it, for people like you, it's never going to be.
Why are you always defending?
It's never going to be an adequate statement. It's never going to be an adequate statement. I'm doing you like I do Phil. I'm doing you like you the proxy.
That would be a
Phil
mistake.
Today. You become the avatar for everybody out there who, no matter what a person says or does, is never satisfactory. That's why I said, if I were the league, I would be protecting all of my players, not just Caitlin Clark, but all of my players by not putting them in that position to where they have to deal with people like you who, no matter what they say, it ain't going to be good enough.
You just made my point for me. Thank you. I appreciate it. And you are a staunch defender of Caitlin Clark. Okay,
I'm really not. I'm just a staunch defender of the facts.
The facts.
And what your arguments are not based in facts. They're based in how you feel. They're based in your feelings.
All right.
And feelings just ain't gonna never win an argument with me.
It's never gonna win an argument with you. Okay, I get it. All right, I'll wear that.
NBA team.
Is there? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Damon.
My bad. Who is your WNBA team?
If I had a WNBA team right now, I don't really have team. I don't have a team. Okay. I'm same thing with the NBA. I like particular players. So I got a player here I like. I got a player here on the team. Okay. I'm like, oh, she cold. That's how I really am more than anything else. Unless it's like a home team. If Cincinnati's involved, I'm always with Cincinnati. If Ohio's involved, I'm always with the Ohio team. You know, Cincinnati Public Schools involved, I'm always with Cincinnati Public Schools. But on that level, I don't have a team. You have a team? Yeah, he a super fan, Sierra. He is a super fan, boy.
I'm really not.
Kevin.
The chat's off the chain.
The fever
I don't even, again, I'm not even going to claim to be a WNBA fan or anything like that. As I said, I am in a bucket of a lot of people who wasn't even really kind of paying attention to it until Caitlin Clark came along. And then that became interesting because of the way she played the game, not because she was white, not because of who she was, but she kind of took the whole world by storm when she was at Iowa and how she was playing ball. And that got people into it. I mean, you can like it or not like it, but the fact of the matter is, just like Nathan was saying with the music, people gonna watch what they want to watch. They gonna listen what they gonna listen to, and they gonna vault the number one what they want to vault the number one. You cannot argue with the hype and what people are watching. You can say Asia Wilson and whoever is better players. They wasn't bringing in new people.
There you go
like
again.
They wasn't bringing in people they wasn't bringing in that money like Caitlin Clark bringing in that money. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Hate the game.
Yeah, Ross.
Y'all hating the player, but you need to hate the game.
Ross, you are completely right. Kevin did say that to me. He said, people like you. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I am not gonna forget it.
I told him he's a replacement for Phil today. I can't get that off on Phil. I can't get the people like you Phil off today. So Nathan,
I'll be that.
Today.
I'll be that.
I said you are the avatar for the Caitlin Clark hater. That's who you are today.
I'll be that today. I'll be that. Sierra, right, sorry, I forgot. I'm a Democratic woman, so I don't do anything about sports ball according. I don't know anything about sports ball according to Terrace. That's right, Terrace.
That was a broad. I painted a broad that was a broad stroke, and I'm sorry about that statement, but it's the truth. Most Democratic women don't care about. I mean, you poll Democratic women. You might be a unicorn, Sierra. You're probably a unicorn of women who are Democrat women that are involved in sports. But overwhelming majority Democratic women are worried about social issues, not sports.
Yeah, Tony writes that people like you kind of hit hard. It did. He hit it hard, but you know what can I do? This guy accept.
Hey man, we all catch strays on this show. Don't act. I done been bullet riddled many episodes of Hot Mic.
Never.
Come on, man.
Nah, pity party.
Come on, man. Listen, I got the Kevlar vest to prove it. It still got the bullet shells in it.
Chat, is there any before we roll out? Because we're near the end. Are there any topics, anything percolating you want us to, maybe kick it back around or something like that? Maybe we missed something. Now's the time to share. Put it in the
somebody
chat.
said something I said about my country. I'm from Kentucky. If you wanted, she said, "Where's Terrace from?" I'm from Kentucky,
Yes.
born and raised.
Born and raised in Kentucky?
Oh, absolutely. I ain't never left, and I probably will never leave.
Okay. You don't seem happy about that. Just a little bit.
Shoot.
No, they just replaced Lindsey Graham with his sister. He died Sunday. Today they got a whole new senator.
And right now, and this makes me appreciate Senator Mitch McConnell even more, because if that was to happen in Kentucky, there's been safeguards in place that we get to, as a Commonwealth, decide who's going into the next senator spot, and things can happen like what they just did with Lindsey Graham.
Hey Nathan, can I pose a question on that subject?
Sure.
And I think it's an interesting one because there's been a lot of conversation, after Lindsey Graham passed, and it's not just, exclusive to Lindsey Graham. I think this has come into effect in the last few deaths that we've high profile national deaths, is this notion of how you should remember and talk about somebody upon their death. And I saw a lot, like on my timeline and in different conversations, where mostly people on the right and conservatives was like, you absolutely, you can't say anything negative about Lindsey Graham. This is disrespectful and this, that, and the other. And it's just people sort of just talking about kind of like what his legacy was and what he was when John McCain was around and what he became after John McCain, and him being kind of hawkish. And so I guess my question is that when a person passes, particularly a high profile person, like, what is fair game to talk about? And I'm not necessarily talking about there's this notion of, is everything you have to say, does it need to be pleasant, or should it always be only talking about the best of that person who passed, while glossing over any negatives that person might have had, or is it best to just not say nothing? Like, what do y'all think is the way to handle that?
I think you should say how you feel, unless you're in leadership. If you're in leadership, you need to check what you say across the board, especially in public. But I mean, on a personal level, you can say how you feel. However that is, good, bad, or whatever.
Is if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. And we're talking about a man who's dead, you could just move on. Like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to. I think the problem I have is that saying the nice thing and not mentioning the crazy is weird. Like, we just had Obama go on there and try to defend slave owners, right? To try to find the redeeming quality in slave owners.
You talking about during his speech at his library? Is that what you're talking about?
Nah, it was a podcast, I think.
Oh, he did that on a podcast.
Where it was, but he was like,
or some kind of interview.
They weren't just slave owners; they were good guys, right? So, the day he dies, you might be able to chill out, and then maybe wait till a week later, right? Give him grace the day he dies. Just coming out and bashing him on the day he dies. But it hurts. I think it hurts me when I see his political opponents just doing what Obama just did and trying to, Lindsey Graham this, and only reminiscing on the good things. But there has to be some grace for people who pass, and you got to give some grace, just not as much grace as we've been seeing these Democrats give. But they all take the AIPAC money, so they all brothers anyway.
If I know somebody in the chat mentioned something about the Nolan, the person whose body was found on the, is that something, is it too, can we touch on that for just a second, or is that like take on a whole
it's going to be, it's going to take on a whole, that's a whole conversation.
Yeah, maybe we should wait until next week or something like that. Or next,
and I want to have some mothers on with us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want to have some mothers on with us, because the perspective of a mother, especially a Black mother, I think is very valuable to the conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
My father's on a Black mother.
Yeah, but I think we have that conversation all at the same time.
Man,
yeah, you know what? When you you're right.
But that is I don't even know if that's a conversation. We all know what happened there, right?
I mean, we got to define. We all can speculate and see. I mean, it don't look right. It don't look right. But what are we gonna do? Okay, once the evidence is out there, and we've got heavy hitters, Colin Kaepernick, Tyler Perry, Benjamin Crump doing the investigation. We've got the top of the top. Once we get to that space where we got all this evidence, what are we gonna do? Are we going to go after all of them? Or are we going to let one of them take the fall? Because from what I'm saying, it's from the top judge down to the police, like everybody's involved. So if we find that evidence to be true, because I'm just going off of what happened in Louisville with the Breonna Taylor case from my anecdotal experience. The truth came out, and it went a complete different way than what it could have went, and it was used for political stuff. I can see this brewing to be the same thing, because we all know, as a Black community, this is foul play. Will we get justice, or will this be another moment in Democratic history that they use as a marchable moment, or to where they're going to piss us off to where we have to do something to riot or march or something like that? Or is it going to be to the point where, I mean, where's Kash Patel? Where's the FBI? Where's the CIA? Where's all these people that should? I know, Kevin. I know.
They're too busy looking into the 2020 election.
They don't
They're
care.
too busy
They don't
looking
care.
into the 2020 election.
Exactly.
Here's the tragedy of that, because I've been fascinated with this case, and I know we're not going to get in deep. I'm just going to say this. First of all, the fact that Mississippi is not zealously investigating this case, like wherever that county is, there's just a lot of unanswered questions, like those text messages and Snapchat conversations that have been deleted. Like those records should have been subpoenaed, have gotten to see what those messages say. I think what's frustrating everybody is this, and this is the reality, and many people have said it, so this is an original thought, is that if the roles was reversed, if it was a white boy who went missing and was found up later, and he was with 3 of his Black friends, it would be investigated very differently. There wouldn't have been a quick dismissal of no foul play. In fact, the brothers would have probably been in handcuffs before they had a chance to lawyer up. I mean, there's just a lot of you can't jump to conclusions, right? Because you got to be careful about that. Because at the end, it could wind up just being a tragic, unfortunate incident with no foul play. So you can't get too far ahead of yourself. But there are too many question marks to just dismiss it so easily as not being foul play. And the fact that one of the kids' mom is a judge, and I think there's another kid that's like, these are rich white kids that are connected in Mississippi. So there's enough question marks to where this should be zealously investigated. It shouldn't be Benjamin Crump and Tyler Perry and Colin Kaepernick investigating this. It should be the proper authorities putting in the work to find out what's going on. I mean, and unfortunately for this family, depending on what comes out, you know, they may have to go to Goldman OJ route. You may not get justice in the criminal justice system, but you might have to, you know, take a civil route and try to sue these 3 affluent, well-to-do families if you have some evidence that, you know, that they were culpable in his death. I mean, unfortunately, that may be, if this thing is not adequately investigated by law enforcement officials, that may be the only remedy that family has. I mean, yeah, people can march, they can protest, but that's going to do little to get this family justice if in fact their kid was, you know, died under nefarious circumstances.
I won't say it would do little. It would do what it's doing now, because we're all in a protest for this. It brings the attention to it. And without the protest, without the march, without Ben Crump going down or Colin Kaepernick's name, or without that, then there is no attention. There is no national news. So those things are needed. It becomes when they start capitalizing or when the wrong people start to take advantage of the situation. And because I guess what we should do is start building affluent Black communities where we don't have these problems or something along those lines. But this is a sad story, and I think if I tie it back to Cincinnati, the Campaign Zero thing came out, and now I'm in rooms and I'm talking to the community about how can the police be better? To your point, why aren't the police talking about how they can be better? Why aren't the police holding, right? Like, what are they? It's going to take outside pressure for the inside to do what's right. But the inside never just jumps out and says, "Oh, we made a mistake. Let's fix it." But rest in peace.
I think it's very difficult for these officials to back up, right? And especially, and I feel you on everything that you said, Damon. And this is why I was trying to keep that comment specifically on justice for the family. Like, there might be some things that come out of this that are more broadly beneficial to the fight and people on down the line. But I'm talking about this particular family getting justice for their loved one that's gone. I don't see, barring some incontrovertible evidence, a smoking gun, that this county sheriff is going to back off of his earlier determination that there was no foul play involved. That's why I was saying I'm skeptical that this family will get criminal justice system justice in this case, because most of the time it's very difficult to get law enforcement to admit mistakes or walk back from an initial determination, right? Like, that's why everybody's giving Connie Pillage such, props for this conviction integrity unit to go back and look and make sure that all of their convictions and stuff is clean, because the justice system don't do that a lot, particularly when people of color are involved, that they're going to go back and look at the mistakes. So I don't know, man. I mean, I hope I'm wrong on that. And if there was foul play, that this family will get justice in the criminal justice system. But I'm skeptical that they're not going to get the resolution and the peace that they're looking for.
My last point I want to make on that is when I mentioned Breonna Taylor, because this is, to me, it's hit similarly home, because the evidence was overwhelmingly that it was unjust, and her family did get compensation. But it's like on the civil side. But what came out of that, out of Louisville? They came to Louisville, they had Breeway going on, March until the election results, all the way up to the summer of COVID, all the way up to October, November, when the November election, and then they leave. And they leave Louisville in a worse situation than they were when they got there. Nothing came from it. Yeah,
whose fault is that?
Hold on. It raised awareness. And Republican Rand Paul, created the Breonna Taylor bill to stop so what happened to Breonna Taylor would never happen again. But what came from what programs? If the place is worse off now, Louisville is, in my opinion, no better now than it was whenever all that marching took place.
Well, whose fault is that? That's Louisville's fault.
Okay.
That's Louisville's fault. What that tells me is that I'm not blaming the people who marched, because in most of what I heard, they were well-intentioned in trying to change the system for what they think would be better for the people. But what we have to understand is that people don't like change. And so the various
how can it be Louisville's fault? How can it be Louisville's fault is my thing. How can it be Louisville's fault? Louisville did not have this leadership that came in and implemented this. Ben Crump did, Tamika Mallory did, my son the general did. They came down there with the funds to organize, the funds and the wherewithal to organize, that they learned from Al Sharpton. They came down and they organized. And I'm just hoping that the Nolan Wells situation doesn't come to the same thing. Yeah, we're talking about justice. We're talking about all that kind of stuff. But will the Ben Crumps, the Tamika Mallorys, all these people who go to these places and fight for justice in these moments?
Look at you.
For political gain.
Look at you.
After the election, they're gone.
You Nathan, what I tell you, bro.
He's missed the whole point. He's missed the whole point. So I hear what you're saying, and that's a common thing I've seen in certain circles. People want to turn back; they want to blame the victim, basically. So here's what I mean by is Louisville's fault, and I'm gonna use an example in Cincinnati that we're dealing with right now. Somebody brought up Campaign Zero. You know, if the city of Cincinnati doesn't take this opportunity with the information brought forward by Campaign Zero to get better, to provide better services, to address these issues they brought up, it's not Campaign Zero's fault. It's Cincinnati's fault. Similarly to Louisville. If Louisville didn't take the time to say, you know what, let's listen to what these people are saying. Oh, okay. And then try to adopt some of that, absorb it, and create an infrastructure to make services better in Louisville, that's Louisville's fault, not the protesters. They did their job. They told you there was an issue. But if you don't have the infrastructure in Louisville to absorb it, to codify it, to make it a part of common practices for better services, that's their fault. That's on you, buddy. That's just like if somebody comes to you and tells you, like, listen, you see this in monster movies all the time. Somebody look outside and say, they look outside and say, oh, wait a minute, I hear growling. There's a monster outside. Don't go out there. And somebody comes behind them and say, I don't believe in no monster to go outside and get eaten. He told you, buddy. He just told you. Sometimes you got to listen to people and absorb and get better. And if you don't, that's to your detriment, even on a personal level. Just on a personal. If your parents come to you and say, hey, do A, B, and C, man, you're going to live to a better life. If you don't do it, that's your fault. They told you. They told you. So Louisville, if you didn't get better, that's your fault because the people hit the streets and they told you. That's what I mean.
And it, you know, here just there have been a couple of good comments in the chat. I think it was Vernon that said earlier, kind of like, hey, we've had, you know, 3 18-year-olds killed in the city in the X number amount of time. Like, we got our own problems here, more or less. Like, why is this Mississippi case getting, you know, all of the attention? And you know, we're just talking here because we do a combination of local and national stuff. And there are lots of things that we don't talk about nationally, lots of things we don't talk about locally. It doesn't mean that they're not important. But I feel the point on that. I also saw where Iris said something about we have no outside friends for no outside pressure. And Iris, if you look a little bit farther up in the chat, there's the link, or Nathan could drop it in again. I mean, I don't know how much longer we're going to be on. But
well, I was planning to get off. That's the only reason I was.
But
get up with it on Friday.
But I wonder if that's true. I mean, because we got a lot of connected Black folks here in Cincinnati that got Ben Crump, Al Sharpton, you know, who name it. I know there are Black leaders in this city that got an extensive Rolodex. So I don't know that I don't know what you meant by we don't have any outside friends to bring in outside pressure, but I just don't believe that to be true. But maybe I'm misinterpreting.
Outside pressure on Black, so they're talking about Black.
I didn't see the comment. I'll scroll back.
Right. So people, I've heard this argument. I don't understand it. They're like, well, how come we ain't talking about the 3 kids that was killed here? Well, because the 3 kids that were killed here, it was deemed a murder. They're looking for the murderers. The young boy in Mississippi, they said, oh, it's a question. We don't know what happened. When Black people know it's a murder, but they're not looking for murderers. So that's why we march. We're not marching because somebody got killed. People get killed every day. We're marching because a young brother got killed, and now they want to act like there was no foul play. But for the young brothers that get killed every day in the streets, all those murders are looked at as murders. Ain't nobody talking about suicide. The young brother got 4 holes in him. But for the young lady that got hung from a tree 2 weeks ago, and they talking about his suicide, we march for her because she's not getting the respect and her death that we think she deserves.
I'm so glad you made that point, because I've seen people online in the comments making this points, and I think it's all politically motivated. Like you just said, it's kind of like, well, why are we talking about this happening way down in Mississippi and we got murders here? And I'm thinking, wow, when did we lose the ability to be able to have and entertain several things that matter to us? When did we lose that? When did that become a detriment? And then, like you said, in a lot of these cases, there's a lot of common sense reasons as to why you see the reactions that people get to. Like this idea that when there's an unaliving here in the city of Cincinnati, that nobody cares and nobody says anything. That's just not true. I see it each and every time, and it breaks my heart. Breaks my heart. Because with social media, you can see the comments of family members. It is heart-wrenching. And there's a lot of good people who maybe are probably underfunded and underworked that's in the streets of this city doing good work, doing exactly what people say people should be doing. They're doing, they just don't get a lot of visibility. And in many cases, they probably need an injection of some capital to help them in their programming or what their mission is. But there's a lot of good people that care about all these issues, every last one of them, that we just don't hear a lot from them.
Yeah,
for
and
a
I
lot
think,
of reasons.
and I think, you know, if we're gonna talk about people unaliving people in the city, and again, I'm gonna probably get myself in hot water by saying this, we got to talk about the real reasons why people are unaliving people in this city. We can't just talk about, oh, you know, somebody unalive somebody and not recognize, not talk about the real issues about who's unaliving who and why in Cincinnati. Like that's the part of the argument that if we're going to handle it, it goes beyond policing, right, to some other things that we're gonna have to have some honest conversation about if we're serious about stopping, you know, 18-year-old young black boys or whatever from being killed in the city streets. Like it's one conversation when it's police action that leads to the death of young black men, and another conversation when it's young black men unaliving other young black men in this city, and their black families that are hurting, you know, as a result of the gunplay and gun violence. You know, there are other parts of that conversation that are hard and necessary that need to be had. You know, so if we're gonna have it, if we saying, hey, we're gonna have to talk about it, we're gonna have to talk about all of it.
The conversation spent right back around to Spend Dat. It spent right back around to the initial topic. Spend Dat, right? So yeah, we gotta have it, and you're not taking my little gun, but it's been right back around to that bad culture that we don't India Arie say this culture is bad. And then you got Nathan Ivey, he 50, talking about you can't tell them what to do. Somebody got to tell somebody what to do.
I mean, mommies and daddies can tell their children what to do until become adults, and then those adults have to take hopefully all that good training and tell themselves what to do. All I'm saying is, and again, I can see that music has an impact. Obviously, it does. All I'm saying, I think, is overblown. I think there's a larger plot to have black people arguing amongst themselves and not focusing on other issues. And at the end of the day, no music in the world, generally speaking, because you can find, you know, you can exceptions to every rule, but generally speaking, you got a strong, stable family life, you're going to hear something here or there, because we've all seen stuff and heard stuff. That's not going to really guide you if you got a strong family unit. And so I just want to I think we should put more focus on promoting a strong family unit across, even if that's government subsidized. A strong family unit is better for America.
Yeah.
Whether that's a nuclear family or a single parent.
So let's look at it. So that would be an interesting
the black family.
Right.
That's why
exactly.
all the tropes are about tearing down the black family.
Right.
From welfare to et cetera, the 80s. All of that.
I mean, here's where I'll agree with Nathan about, in the scope of things, where rap music and media plays into it, right? I'm not going to say I agree with him that it's perhaps overblown, the extent to which it is the impact. That's not to say it doesn't have any impact, but I think there are other factors that are more significant than that result in those outcomes. Nathan talked about strong family foundation. And this is why I said it would be interesting to go back and look at these murders, particularly where people are apprehended, they go to court and go and just kind of peel back the onion from layers and look at that individual's life and their trajectory and all of the factors that was there. And statistically, could you come up with something that said, you know, in the majority of, or in the vast majority of cases, where people are committing violent acts, take a look and see what that family structure look like. Take a look and see what that economic background and structure look like. Take a look at what the educational situation is. And I think if you look at these cases and you start to, analyze that data, you can see certain trends, which will probably match up with what we already think or believe to be the case. But you would have some statistical value out there that would support it. And some of this probably already exists, but I'm talking about Cincinnati proper. I'm not talking about nationally. I'm talking about here in our own local community, which is what we got to deal with. What is it that we're seeing by peeling back the layers and the onions and the stories of these people who are committing murders to find out where it is? Because we can all say, and I believe that that's true, Nathan, if you got a strong family foundation, that probably increases your chances by at least 50 to 60% of not winding up in the system. Right? But, that's just how I feel. I don't have any statistical data to back that up.
All right. Sierra says youngins aren't probably listening to Hot Mic Cincy, and she is. I told her that'd be a safe bet. She is probably 100% about that for sure. But Twin writes, y'all march, police brutality, no King's protest, but you can't talk about the killing in Cincinnati. Yeah, I'm not sure where you get that from, bro. I'm not sure where you get that from, Twin. But I mean, if that's how you see things, I'm not sure if that's consistent to what's really going on. But Iris, yeah, she been getting them. She said 15 minutes ago, we're about to end right now, but don't rush us though. I want to end when I want to end. I don't want no pressure, but I understand what you're saying. You're completely right. And we need to hear that update for sure. But that's all I got, guys. That's it. Appreciate you.
6 o'clock, NAACP is holding their Campaign Zero meeting at somewhere.
Is that tonight?
That's tonight.
Okay. Yeah, Iris mentioned that the city is going to adopt some of whatever. Hey, I expect nothing less. Like I said, that's what good, smart, intelligent people are going to do. Okay, you caught us by surprise. We're a little bit embarrassed. But let's look at it. If we can verify it, then we're going to use that to provide better services. That's what I would do. That's all you can do. That's all you can do.
Is that being recorded or streamed? Do you know?
I don't know.
See, that's another thing. I'm going to just put this out there for organizations and stuff, and I get everybody is in different spaces. But when you're doing significant meetings and things like that, have a digital option, because everybody can't make it. Like, I'm one of those people. I mean, I'm going to be probably waiting to hear from Brother Lynch or see what gets reported on it or whatever. But it would be good to be able to go back and watch that conversation, or, if you just can't make it because you don't have transpo or anything like that to get out, with as much technology as we have today and the ability to reach numbers of people, you got to start thinking about, it can't just be you miss it if you ain't in the building. It's got to be, thinking about how do you expand your reach to get it out there, not just in the moment, but people can go back on demand and watch it at their leisure and see what's happening there. So they may be doing that. I don't know if they are or they're not. If anybody has knowledge of that, let me know. If they are doing it, awesome. If they're not, that's just a feather in the cap to just start thinking about these things, especially these big kind of community meetings.
Before you roll, I just want to say to the chat, I saw in the chat there were people who were sharing their views about different topics. I absolutely love it. Believe me, my skin is super, super thick. If we're having a conversation, I totally get it. You tapping in and you're like, man, I ain't feeling these topics. Hey, maybe you step out for a bit and come back. I appreciate you being here, even if it's for a second. So keep the comments coming. I do get a chance to see them. I pick and choose what I respond to, like everybody else does. But I try to get as much in from everybody so people can like highlight and see it. And then I might not say anything, but I'm thinking about it. But I really appreciate you. Oh, thank you for the suggestion, Twin. I appreciate it. I'll consider it. Thank you. So I really appreciate everybody.
I see the chat too. Chat. I got a list of chatters.
You got a list, huh?
And whoever else. But yeah, I love y'all. It was fun today. See y'all soon.
Yeah, I didn't sweep your comment, Twin. I see it. Thank you. Appreciate the suggestion, man. Have a great day. Thanks for being here, everybody. Have a great day. We'll catch you on Friday.
Peace.